Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Hello, children. Welcome to another stellar edition of The Rational Male. Today's going to get a little rough. It's going to be about how you get over your girlfriend. How do you get over your wife? How do you get over it? It's one of the most common questions I get. How do I get her back is one. The other one is how do I get over her? Talk about it today on The Rational Male. Bueno, how are we doing? How many people we got today? That's good. Well, we're starting off with a lot more these days. Oh, Ned's cheering section is in vain today. I'm sorry. He's not in today. He's actually, boy, let me tell you something. I could give you story. You know, people get pissed off at me when I do personal stories right out the gate, so I won't do that. I won't lay that one on you, but let's just say that it's been a rough morning for Ned. You know, it's funny. People kept asking. I was putting Ned on my Instagram as sort of a way to sort of bait people into like watching this show or watching my shows or reading a new essay or something like that. Because whenever I put a dog picture up, it like gets more hits than, or gets, well, at least on Instagram, anyways, it gets more attention, I think, than when I go, hey, I got a great new show coming up. Check it out. So. Today we're going to get a little serious. I need to sort of clear the air here just a little bit before I jump in. I need to give you guys full disclosure. I put this on Twitter and I put this on in the YouTube chat anyways. If you're watching on another channel such as Facebook or Periscope right now, and I'm looking into other avenues and other channels, by the way, too. Yes, I'm aware of some of these new ones. I needed to put out a disclaimer, sort of a caveat for this particular one, because this is going to get a little raw, I think. A lot of people, if you've read my work, you probably already know, you probably read the essay that I've done about like why I do what I do or why I got into doing this. Or writing about this kind of stuff, like getting into the red. Well, it wasn't even called the red pill back then. It was just me sort of going online and talking to guys who are, you know, having problems, and that's how things sort of worked out. I started writing. I'll tell you. You want the real background? Here's the real background. When I was, it was back in 2001, maybe it was 2001, 2000, somewhere around there. And I was going on forums and such. There was some seduction forums at that time. Blogging wasn't as big a deal back then. I mean, I'm sure there were blogs. Maybe I was aware of, maybe I wasn't, but blogging wasn't the way to communicate back then. Social media was practically not, well, actually it was completely non-existent. And so online forums were the way that guys would sort of compare notes. And I was actually in a gaming forum when I was getting a lot of these questions about like guys who were trying to sort of deal with their wives or a breakup or something like that, or they couldn't in any way find some way to balance, that's their words, not mine, balance their hobbies and their interests and their passions with like what their wives wanted them to do. So if they were into a particular hobby, and I'm sure this is still probably the case in 2020, but back then, you know, if it was playing a console game or if it was playing like the guys in my kind of hobbies, which I have explained to you in the past, is I do a lot of miniature wargaming. That takes up a lot of free time, and that takes up a lot of space, even, you know, buying stuff. And, you know, if you've got bills to pay, it's like you only have a limited budget. Like most men have only a limited budget to really entertain their hobbies. Like if it's golf, I mean, that's an expensive hobby. Really. I mean, if you're really into it, if you really want to get into it, and I call it a hobby because it's really mostly a hobby for most guys. I realize it can be considered a sport. Or, there's other things that guys do that they enjoy that costs money that doesn't have much to do with women in the first place. And what that does is it ends up causing a lot of kind of strife, let's just say. So if you have a lot of interests, such as myself, sometimes that can be a source of sort of irritation. I don't think it's necessarily like a make or break. Sometimes maybe it is. I don't know. But so these guys were coming on and they would say like, well, I'm going through a divorce, or I'm going through I don't, my wife doesn't like my hobbies. She wants me to get out of it. I'm selling all my gear. You guys can have it at a budget rate because I'm getting out of my hobby, my passion, the things that I love to do, because I really need to focus on my work and making money and paying for my kid and paying for my daughter or my son or whatever, and putting food on the table and keeping the house lights on and sort of I gotta grow up at some point, that kind of attitude. And I think I talked about that a little bit in the last episode when I was talking about the PragerU thing. It seems like that's maturity, like it's sold as maturity. It's sold as respectability for you to sort of give up on your dreams and give up, you got to be a real man. You got to settle down. You got to, wake up at some point. Right. And really what's interesting to me, and this is pertinent to today's topic, so bear with me. What's pertinent today, I think, is that, the very fact that you would be willing to do something like that to sort of compromise your identity is a test, a fitness test. And I'm not going to say the proper red pill term for it just yet, because I don't want to I'm trying my best not to swear. I really am. Sometimes I get a little heated and it's going to happen. But anyways, when you do that, when you compromise little bits of yourself, or what happens then is it confirms for her kind of ego, or for her hindbrain, that you're the kind of guy who will compromise those things, who will do that. Not the guy who's uncompromising. And I always get into a back and forth with women and feminized guys about like, well, don't you think that you need to have, all relationships are based on compromise? Yeah, maybe, but not if you're the one doing all the compromising. If you're the one that's saying, okay, I'm going to give up this, I'm going to do this, I'll do anything for you, baby. I need to man up. I need to, I need to grow up, right? This is great. I've heard guys tell me that before. They'll say, well, I need to grow up and get into, get my act together. I got a kid. I can't be an adolescent kid anymore. I got to do. And it's like, I'm not saying that that's not necessarily a good thing. I'm just saying, what's your motivation that pushed you into that? Because of it, are you doing it because you yourself say, hey, I need to change something about myself. I need to sort of put away these things and focus on these things for a while. Maybe you come back to them later. Maybe you have there's certain parts of, yourself and certain parts of things that you like to do, hobby-wise, passion-wise, ambition-wise, that you want to come back to. Maybe you will later on. But that should be your decision, and not because you were prompted into it because somebody shamed you into giving up aspects of your personality, aspects of the things that you really love and the things that you like to do. Because what happens is then the guy that you were is gone. And that's part of that sort of incremental decline, I guess, incremental, like chipping away, I guess, at what your personality used to be. And so what happens is guys will tell me this. The most common question I get from guys is, how do I get her back? Or how do I get her to have sex with me again? How do I get back to a point where I was before? The reason I'm talking about this is because I just yesterday, I was talking with Rich Cooper, and we were talking about, taking her back. That was the topic of yesterday's show on Before the Train Wreck with Rich. Go watch that if you want a little bit more background. It's only like, I don't even think we went for an hour. I think we went for like 45 minutes or something. So I was trying to be concise. So that's a common question. Like, how do I get her back? How do I get my girlfriend back? That was the number one question when I was back on SoSuave, when I sort of transitioned from this gaming community, this online, about online games, and into saying, oh, hey, they'd really like to talk to you over here at this forum called SoSuave, or Alt Fast Seduction, or you should check these guys out. And I was kind of put off because at first, because it seemed kind of like I wasn't really, super red pill at that point. I was like, oh, well, these guys seem like sharks or players or something, like how to be a better player kind of thing. But then I got into it and people were asking me questions. I was reading the conversations, and that's what got me in and dragged me in. But those conversations and those debates, and the debates is really kind of not even a proper way to go about thinking this, but it was a conversation, and it was a worldwide conversation at the time, and there were very common topics that would come up, and the most common topic was, how do I get her back? How do I get her? How do I go back to where I was with her before? Because this very common was guys who would say, "Oh, I moved in with her and the sex dried up," or they would say, "I got married and she was so fun before, and we were having sex in the back of cars and outside and doing all kinds of crazy kid stuff, and now that we're married, I don't even get oral satisfaction anymore." See, I'm behaving myself, YouTube. I'm really behaving myself. And so the guys would say, well, how do I get back to that? And really, that's the same thing today. Older guys will say the same thing, of course, but like even younger guys who get married. And remember, the most common average age, at least amongst Americans, for first marriage for men is like 29 and a half, certainly 29 and a half, maybe 30, somewhere around there, 29.7, I think is what it is. And so right around that time, there's no coincidence that that's also the time that women go through their epiphany phase. I talked about that before. I won't belabor that again. But what happens is those guys get into a situation where they're in a monogamous relationship. They get, or they're an LTR, whatever. They finally get married, or maybe they think that their ships come in and they get married. And prior to the commitment side of it, there is a lot of good feelings. There's the love. There's the infatuation. There's that usually it's about 3 to 5 month honeymoon period where you just can't keep your hands off of each other. You're infatuated with each other. That's the lust period. And I think I have a different opinion about lust when it comes to intersexual dynamics that a lot of people do. I think a lot of people put a lot there's a negative connotation that goes with lust, and I don't think it necessarily has to be. I think that's just something that we sort of apply as, oh well, this is bad. This is a horrible thing because you guys can't you're burning with lust. Well, okay, yeah, that's how people reproduce. That's part of the actual cycle of you actually wanting to do that. And hopefully that leads to something a little bit more permanent, or maybe form a family. At least in the past, you would form a family as a result of that. Lust was a necessary component to that, particularly for guys. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. One more caveat I have to throw out there, because I'm going to talk about this today. It's in my notes here. I am not an endocrinologist. I am not a biochemist. I have a rudimentary understanding of hormones and human biochemistry, just enough to sort of get myself into trouble, and I probably will get myself into trouble today. But I'm going to be talking about that. But again, full disclosure. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not I don't have any kind of doctorate degree. I just have a keen interest in this kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about dopamine today. We're going to talk about endorphins today. We're going to talk about oxytocin. We're going to talk about vasopressin today. We're going to talk about testosterone today as well, and sort of the evolutionary evo-psych aspects of that. And again, this is the lay person, connect the dots kind of analysis of this. So there's your full disclosure before we get started. So the most common question I get is how do I get her back? How do I rekindle this? How do I get back to the state of lust that really sold me on the idea of committing to this person? Because I thought that this was I understand that guys are going to, or I understand that, sex is going to decline after marriage. That's a common trope, I think. I think we sell young men and young women on the idea that you won't have as much sex now as you did before you got married. That's as if that's a selling point, for marriage. At least conventional marriage, in the sense of the pre-sexual revolution sense of marriage. In the past, that might have been a your gateway to having sex was to get married, was to have a commitment, was to be commitment worthy, respectability, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that there's a lot of life things, I think, and a lot of psychological things that went along with that. But for the most part, prior to the sexual revolution, not so much after it, but I think we're starting to see a resurgence of this, particularly in religious communities, where guys are saying, particularly the no-fap community, or the guys who are just thinking like, I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim, and I don't believe in premarital sex. How can I use this red pill stuff to better my life? I can't spin plates. It's a misunderstanding, but it's a common misunderstanding as well. But you have to remember that the only way you're going to solve, according to religious conviction, the only way you're going to solve your sexual problem, your reproductive problem, is to get married. That's the only real legitimate way to do that, right? I mean, what happens is, I'm sure you probably heard. Here's another trope for you. When women get married, after they've been having sex prior to that, and then they get married, and they go, we're gonna be official. We're gonna make our love official. So it's not so much. It's not about we're gonna make our love legitimate now. Like, we've been having all this illegitimate, illicit sex prior to all of this, and now we're gonna get married, and now we're gonna make our love official, and now we're going to make our love legitimate because we're going to get married. And this is a part that one of the reasons I want to talk about this again is because this is a part that's in book 4, as you might guess. But that's kind of how we treat love versus sex these days. Now, sex is a big component to this, because once you've been having sex, it makes it a lot harder for you to be able to sort of separate from that person, obviously. But there's a chemical component that goes along with this. So prior to the sexual revolution, prior to all this, that was the way we used to do that. And I have to put this out there in the beginning, because a lot of people are going to say, well, all this stuff about getting over her wouldn't make any difference if you did it the right way, if you did it, if you didn't believe in premarital sex, if you weren't a player, if you were looking for a virgin bride, yeah, of course. But in an ideal world, in a vacuum, I'm sure that would probably work out pretty well. It used to work out pretty well. At least the quest for the righteous fox, right? That's a chapter in one of my books, the upcoming book. The quest for the righteous fox is the idea that there is this girl she represents this great sexual opportunity, but she's still a chick. She's still hypergamous. I don't care how religious she is. I don't care what her convictions are. I don't care if you think she's a good girl. I really need to do a show on good girls. I don't care what your evaluation of her quality is. She's still a human female on planet Earth, and she still has to, at least in some way, feel the impulses of all of those natural proclivities that go along with women's nature. So I want to put this out there, and I realize maybe I'm getting a little bit long-winded about this. Like, how do I get over her? How do I get over her? Well, you have to know why you can't get over her first. And this is why. That's why I'm building this up right now. So there is a social convention. For some people, it's a religious convention. So for some people, it is a blue pill conditioning that really predisposes them to having this, I'll say, a psychological complex, but that's really the only word that I can use for it, because they've been psychologically conditioned from a very early age that there's only one person for them. There's only one way to do this. I got to find the one. She's my even what was it? There was an interview of Jada Pinkett Smith, and Will Smith wasn't around, but she was explaining to this guy who was interviewing her, and this is prior to the Red Table talk that I did not too long ago. But she was explaining how she met Will Smith, and Will Smith had been married before. He divorced his first wife. He had a kid with her, and then he got with Jada after that. And what Jada said is that Will saw something special in her, and she was his quality woman. And she would I don't think she used those exact terms, but it's exactly the definition of what I would use as sort of this ideal, the quality woman ideal. She also said this. She said, Will saw me as the jewel in the rough, the special little, twinkling little unicorn that he could, he could work with. And so, she's laughing and, yucking it up with this guy. But I was listening to this and I'm going, yeah, that is exactly what I would expect from a guy who has been conditioned by the blue pill to look for exactly that. And that becomes very, very difficult for guys when they get into a relationship with the one that they think is their special jewel in the rough. And so that's the social side of things. That's like the conditioning side of things. That's you need to be an emotional guy, in touch with your feminine side, express yourself emotionally and be emotionally available and emote. That's that side of it. And that predisposes, I would say, at least 80% of guys, probably more, to the idea that there's this one special snowflake that exists out there for them. I'm saying this in the beginning because this is very important when you get to the point where you realize, how does love work? Biochemically, how does love work? How does that emotion, how does that connection, how does that bonding, in some cases literally chemical bonding, how does that work in tandem, in tandem with the psychology that goes along with it, the sociology that goes along with it. So I can sit here and you can, like, for most people, like when a guy goes up to, he's looking for advice, he can't get over a girl, he doesn't know why he can't get her back, or if he can get her back, he wants to find some way to get back to the point where it felt good, where the good feelings were, where the endorphins were, where that good biochemical like cocktail that floods his system and floods her system, and they have a mutual, genuine desire to, reproduce, to get after it, right? Like rabbits, to just, I'm having a real tough time trying to keep my language perfect for this one, but you know what I'm talking about, like to have lust for one another. They want to get back to that state. And so what happens is and maybe you want to know one of the reasons why I think that the religious convictions, the religious rules, the doctrines for no marriage or no marriage before sex, no sex before marriage what's the latent purpose of that? Why is that useful? Why is that a utility in religion? Is because of exactly this. Is when you get into that situation, when you're having sex prior to a commitment, prior to all of this, all this stuff that's going on, like when you get into that. Now, again, don't hear me out. I'm not advocating for not spinning plates or just running and getting and finding your virgin or whatever. It's not what I'm advocating for. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just saying this is why I see that no premarital sex as something that had a utility prior to where we are right now. It certainly had a utility. But the reason is because biochemically, that's where those good feelings start. So if you are a virgin and she is a virgin and you get together from a prearranged marriage or for however you guys got together, you save yourself from marriage and you have sex and you're ignorant of pornography, you're ignorant of pretty much sexuality, eroticism, whatever. Maybe you know a little bit, but you have that for one another, and you're still sort of naive to sex and lust and everything else. Then that becomes like this really bonding, emotionally bonding, chemically bonding experience for a man and a woman, assuming they're in love and they have that ideal thing going on for them. Now, this is pie in the sky. This is idealistic. I get it. Again, this is not advocacy. I'm not endorsing this. I'm saying that that's why I understand that works. It's also why I say that premarital sex or no premarital sex convictions, whatever, used to have the utility also of women will call it repression today, but it was a buffer against becoming an alpha widow. Because the more that women had sexual experience prior, they're no longer naive, right? We want to know why a virgin has always classically been a most desired woman: youth, fertility, and virginity. Well, the virginity part represents an insurance of paternity. So she's never known a man before, so she's now a war bride. She's valuable because she's valuable for reproduction, because there's no doubt in your mind, assuming she's a virgin, that you're reproducing with somebody who's going to carry on your genetics into the next generation. So that's the utility of that. But the other utility is that when that woman has had sex prior to you coming on the scene, if she's been with a guy where she's already gone through this biochemical process of that lust and then moving into something else with that guy, maybe something deeper, something more bonding. And now he's gone or he's dead, or maybe literally she's an alpha widow, but he's out of the picture and you come in. That creates comparisons. That creates what that does is it triggers what I call the hypergamous filter, or the hypergamous question, which is this guy the best I can do? Well, if I have 2 guys, 3 guys, 10 guys before him, and the best one was the best I can do, and this guy isn't the guy that she's supposed to marry or the guy that she's supposed to get with later on, if he's not the best that she can do, like up here psychologically, maybe she's not like cognitively thinking of that, but her hindbrain is thinking like that. Her hindbrain, your women's hindbrains will always make the hypergamous balance, or will always try to balance the hypergamous question. Is he the best that I can do? No, he's not, because that guy back 10 years ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, he was the best sex I ever had, and he was the best guy I was ever with. I was going to bring up a tweet that some girl had put up on TikTok, and somebody made me aware of it. I retweeted it. You can probably find it in my Twitter feed right now if you really want to go digging for it. But it was this girl who was on TikTok, and she made this sort of regret video because she ended up dumping her boyfriend, and she made this video that was sort of a video for the next the next girl that was going to get with Cole or whoever the guy's name. I don't know, Dylan. I don't know. Sprouse. No, I'm dating myself. But I think that's what, that was what it was really all about, was her. It was her trying to make a plea to get the guy back by indirectly saying, well, if you're the next girl that gets with Cole, make sure you don't leave him in anger, and make sure you do this, and don't let the little things get to you, and blah, blah, blah. Like essentially what it was her pleading for him to come back by her saying, well, I learned, these are all the lessons I learned from this horrible experience when Cole dumped me or left me in anger, or I left him in anger and he doesn't want to come back to me. Like that was the whole thing. I think this came either right after or right before I went on with Rich yesterday when we were talking about breaking up. And I said, who breaks up more? Men or women? Who initiates a breakup more, men or women? And I would say almost universally it is women who initiate that breakup. I can also statistically prove that to you as well, because we already know that 70% of women initiate divorce. So the incentives are there, and the filter, because women are the primary sexual selectors, not only in society, but just from a biological perspective, they're the sexual selectors. There's the one, ideally, okay, I understand there's ways to circumvent that, and I'm not going to talk about them right now. But women are primarily the primary sexual selectors in society, in humankind, let's just say, by and large. They are also the ones who accept or reject intimacy. They accept or reject lust. They accept or reject attraction, arousal, IOIs, indicators of interest, that kind of stuff. That's really where it comes from. And you want to know why PUA was such a big deal? That was what was trying to find a hack to that, and successfully did for a very long time. But they are the primary sexual selectors. And as such, they're the ones who are also the primary sexual rejectors as well. So when guys say, well, how do I get her back? I can't stop thinking about her. Well, you're already, just from human nature, from male and intersexual dynamics, from men's mating strategy, women's mating strategy, you're already in a state where she's the one you're qualifying to. And most guys, the 80% of guys, are going to be qualifying to women. What was unique about this one girl who made the TikTok video is that she was the one who did the rejection. But if you look at the guy and you look at the pictures that she puts on there, this guy, I think if you didn't know anything about them, you would say that guy's alpha. The guy he's got the look, he's got that jaw, like everything that everybody on Face and LMS wants to talk about, everything about looks maxing and all this other stuff. If you just look at the guy and his pictures on the beach and he's in his swim trunks and he's shirtless and everything else, you would look at that guy and you would say, yeah, women want to get with that guy. It was certainly, this is me just being subjective here, but I would say that the guy was probably in that 20%, and she blew it and she threw it away. And now she realizes, oh my gosh, he was actually the one he was the best for me. He was the guy who was, can I do any better? No, you can't. He's actually that's the dude. That's the guy you want to reproduce with. Oh my God. And I let him go. I'm going to make a TikTok video of me crying and maybe he'll come back. And here's what I learned. I'm sorry. And it's funny is when I've said this before is that what women tend to lack insight, personal insight. And it takes a real trauma. I mean, real trauma for women to actually have some form of insight or to be prompted, incentivized to personal insight. One of those traumas, I would say the most reliable trauma, is to have let go of the one that got away, of the guy who is the alpha widow guy. And I'll tell you the thing, it's one thing if the alpha widow guy initiates it himself, says, this isn't working out. I'm sorry. I don't want to cheat on you, but we're different people. It's complex, whatever. And the alpha leaves the woman who is the girl who is like one or two steps below him, figuratively, subjectively, but certainly perceptually, in sexual market value. And he leaves and it's gone. Okay. She's going to pine for that guy. Yes. She's going to cry for him. She's going to lose it, but the circumstances are different. He let her go instead of her letting him go. Now, if you've got a woman who is like, let's just say one step below the guy that she's with, and she, because of her ego is overblown or from social media or girlfriends tell her this, anti-social proof, like, oh, you shouldn't be with that guy. He's a player, whatever. And that woman lets go of the alpha and says, I don't want to, gets really mad and lets, just as in this situation and lets him go. And he's like, okay, fine, I'm out, whatever, I have options. This is when I get to the part here when we talk about breaking up with dignity and walking out on your feet. This is a good example of walking away on your feet. You want to know how to get over a woman? You walk away. The way you break up is going to set the frame for yourself post breakup. So in this case, this guy probably realizes his value to some degree. He probably has a good amount of women that were interested in him anyways, just because he's, a fairly attractive guy. He could go on Tinder and people would swipe right on him. I think that's right. So that's a different circumstance. So when a woman becomes an alpha widow by a bad decision, by a bad choice on hers, that is really rough for women when it comes to like her hindbrain kind of coming to terms with hypergamy, like optimizing hypergamy. Oh my God, this guy had potential. He was the one. He was the one. He was the guy that I could have been with. He's the one that got away. And I let him go. I can't believe I did that and he won't come back. I'm screwed. That does a mind job on women. Now, maybe they get over it. They get over it faster, certainly get over it faster than men do. Now I'm using that first example there because that is sort of the rarest example of a breakup. The most common example of a breakup is a woman who gets with a guy who she might have had some attraction for, might have had some arousal for in the beginning. And then he, like I said, incrementally, inch by inch, like death by a thousand paper cuts, death with a little tiny knife, little by little, he fails enough tests where she says, okay, this guy isn't the best that I could do, and I can do better. I need a break. I need to get away from you. I need to blah, blah, blah. And that's when rationales come up. That's when women start balancing cognitive dissonance once again. That's when women say, you know what, I need to get with a personal trainer and I need to find a way. I got to plan my exit strategy. Men will always tell you this, is that when a woman breaks up with a guy, it's usually just a formality because she broke up with you probably 6 or 8 months prior. And she's already been planning. She's already been trying to find a way. She's already forming rationales in her head. She knows it's coming. She knows the punch is coming. She knows she's got to punch you in the face, but she just, not yet, not tonight, not today, not on Christmas, not on his birthday. His mom just died, whatever. She doesn't, it's not quite right. You want to know when women break up with guys? I just thought of this. I have an essay. It's called Spring Break, actually. And no, it's not about Cancun. There was a study that was done, and I want to say it was like in 2010 or 2012. and they had the statistics for this. And this is just when we started using like social media as a basis for statistics gathering. And if you looked at like Twitter and you looked at, I think it was also Facebook. Facebook was primarily because Facebook was a bigger deal back then. If you look at relationship statuses and when they changed from like a couple or like with somebody or in a relationship with somebody to single for women, they took place at particular times. Now, yes, I know about cuffing season. Thank you very much. But this was back in 2012 and nobody was talking about cuffing season, right? Well, I got to get rid of her prior to Thanksgiving. And then once we're in January, we'll make up and we'll come back together again. And usually like women will say, it's because he's cheap. He doesn't want to buy me a ring. He doesn't want to do anything. That's not what this is about. What this is about is when women would break up with their boyfriends. And usually it was prior. And this is like, from, was it 20 years old up to like, I think 30, somewhere in there. But the demographic of single women, prime single women. Now remember, peak sexual market value for women, 22 to 24 years old. If you look at the breakups, they always happen prior to spring break and prior to summer, like right before, like when they're out of college, when they're out of high school, whatever. I need for a high school girl, whatever. But when those breakups came, it came at predictable times. And then also the drops in them also came because, people are still breaking up during most of the year. But at like, say, like Thanksgiving, it drops a little bit. Maybe at Christmas, it drops a little bit because it's just too cruel to do it right then. Or maybe like Valentine's Day, it drops a little bit, or maybe it comes up a little bit. Who knows? But prior to spring break, like right around end of March, beginning of April, and then again right around like the end of May, beginning of June. That's where you see those spikes in singleness for women. So there's actually, you have to remember why would that be? Like we have to ask, okay, what's the correlation? Why do we think that? Well, because that's when women are thinking, well, I'm young. I'm in the prime of my life. I'm at my peak sexual agency right now. I want to explore my options because that's what we give women. Unless they're in a very, religious culture or whatever. I'm not saying this. I'm not going to just eliminate, Western cultures here. But there's a method to the madness. And so that's another thing I want guys to remember is that when you get to those times, if you find yourself like wanting to mate guard or you're suspicious, like guys will tell me all the time, they'll say, well, I want to look at her phone. I think she's trying to cheat on me. Rollo, she asked me if she could go on a girls' night out or a weekend in Vegas with her girlfriends. And I don't want to be insecure. She should be able to go, right? That the real question is not whether you're going to give her permission. It's like, why is she asking you? Why is that something that entered into her brain that she wants to go do? So just a few things to think about here. So who breaks up more? Women break up more with men because they're the primary sexual selectors. So that's number one. Number two is that in 80, remember there's the 80-20 rule. So more men are in the 80th percentile, the 80, 85, like guys will argue with me, 85 and 90, whatever. Let's just round it off to 80 for today's show. 80% of guys are going to be beta. 80% of guys are necessitous. 80% of guys are going to be low SMV men. So you've got guys who are not 8s, 9s, and 10s that are getting the attention. Maybe it's naturally, whatever, who knows. But just statistically, numbers wise, this is red pill math. Most guys are going to be the ones who are getting dumped. Most women are going to be the ones who are going to be doing the dumping because it is quality. It's how women's mating strategy works, right? It's based on quality. Is he the best I can do? Alpha seed, beta need. In this time of my life, I need alpha seed. He's got to be hot. He's got to be fun. He's got to be the hot guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. That's the guy that I need to get with when I'm 22, 23, 24 years old. 30 years old, things change. He's got to have a job. He's got to love his mom. He's got to like puppy dogs. Yeah, blah, blah. Okay. Things change in that time of their lives. But what doesn't change is the qualifications, is the what Royce calls the 436 bullet point checklist of the things that women would like for a guy to have. Now, that falls apart like a house of cards depending on what that woman's actual sexual market value is herself. Most men are necessitous. They're necessitous by nature. They're necessitous because they don't know how the game works. They're necessitous because they've been conditioned by the blue pill for a lifetime. And particularly when they get up to the point where they're talking about commitment, when they're talking about like, well, I got a girlfriend, or most guys don't want to play the field. Most guys they feel uncomfortable spinning plates. One of the most controversial things I get from guys is like, I can't do that. I'm not a plate spinner. I'm not a player. I'm a quality guy, man. And they're making up all these, reasons why they're cool, or they're not like other guys. I'm unique. No, you're not. You're like every other 80% guy out there. You're like every other beta male that's out there. And all of them think that they're unique. They think they're not like other guys. I would not use you, baby. I'm a stand-up guy. No, you're just like pretty much everybody else. And women know that. They understand that. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to get it with a girl who is, maybe she's around the same SMV as you, or maybe lower, maybe just a touch higher. Who knows? And that's going to seem like validation to a guy like that. But the problem is those guys get into relationships. And remember, we're talking about the 80%ers here. They get into a relationship with a girl, and they do so from a point of scarcity. And they do so from a point of necessity. So there's a little bit difference, I think. Like, I've talked about abundance versus scarcity. It's in book 1. I've been talking about this stuff since like the mid 2000s. Abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. And yes, I know every damn entrepreneur, every success porn seller online, everybody in the hustle economy will tell you the same thing. You need to get an abundance mentality. Great. How do I do that? How do I do that, Mr. Sell me your program, sell me your ebook, sell me your email list. Well, if you're talking about that from personal success and business and stuff, yeah, okay, that's not what I'm talking about right here. I'm talking about abundance mentality in the sense that you realize that women are abundant. You need to get into the headspace that women can be abundant for you if you figure it out. That's what PUAs wanted to do in the early days. They're like, how do I get this? How do I get a girlfriend? Most of the guys didn't even care about like spinning plates. They just wanted to use PUA skills to get their dream girl, because they were still hooked on the idea, on the blue pill idea, that there was one for them. I got to get the hottest girl I can possibly get. I thought that myself. I, honest to God, thought that when I was very blue pill and I was much younger. This is prior to my rock star 20s, right? When I was 18, when I was 17, 18, man, you don't even want to know. Because I was exactly like you. I was exactly like that guy. I was like, oh man, I got to find the right girl for me, and we're gonna settle down. I want her to be have hot, fun sex with her, but I'm a stand-up guy. I'm not like other guys. I'm unique. I want to settle down. God forbid, man. God forbid I'd run into a woman at like 18, 19 years old who wanted to get married or didn't have the options, or wanted to just sort of check out because she was so low quality or had something wrong with her head that she wanted to get married. God forbid. Thank God I didn't marry the BPD girl. What is it? I forget what it was. It the old Limp Bizkit song? Thank God it's over. Like that's, I was singing that song a lot. Thank God it's over. Thank God I'm out of this. I didn't think that at the time, but boy, I was locked in. But that necessity is what locks you in to the idea that you can't do without her. So there's when you're breaking up with a girl, when you've been with that girl and you're approaching this, like, let's just say for sake of argument, you're in this relationship with her, you're necessitous, you're blue pill. You don't know the game. You reject everything red pill because you don't want to be seen like you're a misogynist or a chauvinist, or you're backwards thinking, or you're not progressive enough, right? You don't want anybody to think that. So you reject it out of hand. You're the guy who is blue pill. You're the guy who is locked into the one-itis. You have a soulmate mentality, and you come from a position of scarcity and necessity. You finally find the girl that will have sex with you, and that girl turns into your quality woman. Overnight, she does. And you do everything anybody ever told you to do. You do I told her my life story. I told her about my mom and my dogs and my dad when he left. He's an alcoholic and this and that. And I told her everything. I open communication. That's what girls want, right? That's what Oprah said. That's what Dr. Phil said. That's what all these psychologists are saying, that women just want to be, they want to know you. They want you to open up. They want you to express yourself emotionally. They want you they want you to be more like a girl. So that's what I'm doing. I'm identifying with women. And look, here I am. I got her. We're having sex. It's fun. She's all over me. It's awesome. And then they get to a point where they're with that girl, or maybe it happens like earlier. Maybe they're younger. Maybe they do it in like their high school sweethearts, right? And they try to work it out. And maybe she, whether it's for religious reasons or it's just social reasons, or maybe it's just convenience. Maybe it's just logistics. And you stick with that girl for like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. How long? Like I've had guys hit me up who were like 26 years old and they met their girlfriends at 18 or 17, or maybe they're married or whatever, and they're going through a breakup after like 8 years, almost 8 years of being with, like, having this relationship with this girl who they met in high school or maybe in college, whatever. And they're locked into it because they had that's the best they can do. That's their dream girl. That's what PUAs wanted. I want a dream girl. How do I get her? Like Mystery. Why was Mystery suicidal? Because he could get the girl. He just didn't. He wasn't red pill. He learned game. Game and red pill are mutually exclusive if you don't make that connection, if you don't realize that the red pill is a theory and game is the practice of it. If you separate those two, you can very well you can be an expert at PUA or game or whatever. You can know what to say and be charming and everything else and be just as blue pill. I did exactly that. Exactly what I did. Man, I when I was in my rockstar 20s, you want to know where my 40 plus notch count came from? It was between the ages of about 19 up until 25, 26, right around there. And that was eye-opening for me. Right around 23, 24 is when I met the BPD girl. Didn't mean I was faithful to her at the time, but like it was still later I got locked into that, but it was this idea of being sort of this happy-go-lucky guy, and then suddenly now you're locked into this. Now you're locked into it, and it took me a while to really ask myself and have the insight again to really ask myself, like, why did I get locked into that? Well, it's because I was necessitous. It's because I still had this idea that you got to find some perfect little girl and just settle down with her, and she's going to be the one for you, and you're going to have babies, and you're going to have, we're going to go through it, and we're going to have our fun, right? We're going to play the field for a little while. Remember that? I'm going to play the field. And then everything will work out. And more or less it did for me. But I had to get over the idea. I had to unlearn the blue pill conditioning. I had to unlearn that stuff. And blue pill conditioning is based on a lot of principles, but primarily it's based on mental point of origin, not making yourself your mental point of origin. Is based on you being necessitous and being kept in that state of necessitousness. Even if you're a guy who can naturally get laid, can naturally get women's arousal and attraction, even if you're that guy, the blue pill teaches you that you're not that guy, that you shouldn't be that. It's wrong for you to be that guy. You're having meaningless sex if you're that guy. That's what the blue pill teaches you, because it needs you to be useful to women. Because again, the blue pill, if nothing else, the blue pill is meant to facilitate women's mating strategy and ultimately their life strategy. So when you're thinking like that, it's hard not to. And when you mix religion into it, it's even tougher. Let's mix biochemistry into it. So when you are in love, when you're in lust, you are experiencing a chemical cocktail, an endorphin cocktail that is specifically meant for you to reproduce. So when you see that girl, like, this is the best example I can give. So bear with me for a moment. When men see women who are like in a bikini, or like you see a Playboy centerfold, I know that's old school, right? Like we can talk about pornography, like digital pornography. You want to know why it is so addictive and so endemic and ubiquitous right now? It's because there's a biochemical transfer. You will get that rush. You'll get a chemical rush from that. And what happens is when you see just a woman, like a hot girl in the swimsuit calendar or whatever, when you see it, even just doesn't have to be nude. She doesn't have to be doing anything sexual. She can just be looking good. She doesn't have to be in the throes of passion. You look at her and your brain naturally separates her into objective parts. So when a woman says, you objectify women. Yeah, we all do, ladies. Sorry. That's how we evolved. That's how we successfully reproduced. And that's why you're here and I'm here and everybody's here, because we've been doing that for millennia, hundreds of thousands, maybe 100,000 years, for a very long time, since we were living in tribes on the sub-Saharan African savannas. We've been doing exactly the same thing. And what happens is when you see a woman who is like half nude, we look at that as a cue for sexuality. We think that woman is cueing our brains for reproduction. Like, she wouldn't be dressed like that if she wasn't ready to go. Damn, let's go. She doesn't even have to be that way. She could just show her ankles. She can just show her breasts. She can just show her neck. Whatever is the fetish, whatever is the thing, that's the thing. And so that's a cue. That's a sexual cue that triggers endorphins, and that triggers the arousal response in men. And if the guy looks good and he is muscular and has the jaw and all the great things that looks maxers want to tell you about, yes, that triggers the arousal response in women as well. Arousal and attraction are two different things. We're talking about the arousal response right now. So yes, when a woman is on Tinder and she's, oh, he's hot, I'll swipe right. Yeah, that's the arousal response, because all women have to go on is the visual cues. When a man sees that, it's the same thing. But what happens with men, what happens with men is when we see a half naked woman, it triggers a part of our brains that is associated with tool use. And why is that? Now, this is me being Dr. Rollo here. The reason I think that is the case is because your brain, your hindbrain, your male lizard brain, steeped in testosterone, is trying to solve its reproductive problem. Well, that looks like a tool. I need tools to solve my problem. So when I see the hot girl, when you see the centerfold, she doesn't have to be half naked. She could just be looking good in jeans and a t-shirt. When you see that and you get the arousal response from that, it's triggering that part of your brain that's associated with tool use, because you're trying to solve a problem with those tools. So again, that's me playing Dr. Rollo. I'm probably going to get 1,000 different links about, oh, Dr. Buss said this, or this sexologist said this, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, we can play dueling research all day long. I'm giving you correlation is not causation. So let's just, again, more caveats for today. But when you get into that state, once there's mutual arousal, what happens? Well, for men, and this is, again, I'm quoting another study, for men, when men are single, they tend to produce more testosterone. When men get into a relationship, when they are in a committed relationship, that testosterone declines. There are environmental and circumstantial events that happen that a man must respond to, that his testosterone will increase or it will decrease. Now, it's not like adrenaline. So like if it's like fight or flight, like, oh my God, a saber-toothed tiger, you're going to, have that fight or flight thing. If you're in that life-threatening, mode, that's, like I said, there's nothing like a good adrenaline rush in the morning, right? But this is a little bit different. So when a guy is single, what is motivating him? Well, testosterone. Testosterone is men's main hormone for muscle growth, for sure. But it's also for aggression. It's also for getting out there and seizing the day, right? Kicking butt and taking names. And it's also, it also helps us, testosterone helps, it's like the miracle drug. And I hate it when I read these articles about, oh, well, testosterone is the single most dangerous chemical on planet Earth. Or I saw this, like when COVID came out and they're saying, oh, we need to give men estrogen treatments so they can bring down their, that's going to do it. Like, we're going to bring down their testosterone and we're going to control them. Because if they have more estrogen than testosterone, then they have a higher survival rate of COVID. Really? but like testosterone in men has a function that I think is a little bit different than in women. That's not to say that women don't produce testosterone. They do. In fact, when women are in that arousal state, or when they are in the ovulatory state, when they are in, we talk about ovulatory shift and hypergamy and all that good stuff, that's when women's testosterone jumps up. So for men, it's always on. For women, you have to warm a woman up, right? You got to foreplay and all this other stuff. You got to find some way to arouse her. There's a cycle. There's a process of arousal for women, whereas for men, we're always ready to go. Usually, we're always ready to go. And we had to, because in our ancestral past, that's what was most reproductively expedient. And that's me being polite about that. So hit it and quit it, ejaculate and evacuate. That used to be the order of the day, because if you didn't, you probably didn't reproduce. And if you reproduce, or if you copulated with the wrong woman, well, her brother, her dad, her lover could come around, her committed lover could come around and kill you. That's just promiscuous promiscuous primates doing what they do. So we are sexual reproductive opportunists. Most men are. We're K-selected women, we're R-selected, women are K-selected. Maybe I got that backwards, but spread the seed versus nurturement, take care of the progeny. So that's part of our brain chemistry. Now, when we get into a relationship, what happens? Well, for women, oxytocin goes up. And I have to remember to sort of to buffer this a little bit, because a lot of people get oxytocin wrong. Everybody thinks, oxytocin is the cuddle gene. It's the love gene. Well, yeah, for women it is. You have to remember that testosterone it's a depressant, or antagonist, I think is the real word, for oxytocin. Men do not produce oxytocin, certainly not in the same levels or the same volume that women do. It's not that they don't. We do. We do produce oxytocin. But remember, oxytocin is a post-orgasm hormone. For women, oxytocin after they get off, pooh, right through the window. For guys, that goes up. Yeah, that you want to know why you're like relaxed and you're chill. It's like with the "What About Mary" scene, right? When they say, you got to flog the dolphin before you go out on a date, otherwise you go off with a loaded gun. Like God forbid she actually knows you want to have sex with her, right? There's no better example of 90s ignorance of red pill awareness than that movie, or at least that section of that movie right there. Something About Mary. And so because oxytocin, it will relax you. And if you're with a girl that you think maybe you want to be parentally invested in, which is the precursor, I think, for what we call commitment, that's an important, you've got to have feelings. Well, what happens is if you get into that commitment, your testosterone comes down. And what goes up? Oxytocin. So that foments pair bonding, and it foments the parental investment instincts in men. Also foments paternal instincts. Is this kid my kid? So the problem I think today is, like, back in our ancestral past, we didn't have social media. We were ignorant to women's sexual strategies. And certainly not. We weren't educated in the way that we are right now about them, but we were ignorant to our options. So when we see, you want to know why guys get addicted to pornography? It's because this is me talking. It's because there's the chemical process, yes, but you want to know why they get quote unquote addicted is not because of dopamine so much as it is, this is what, when guys see this, particularly like guys who have like religious convictions, when they see pornography and they I want to get away from it. I feel bad. I'm going to beat myself up over it. The reason for that is because it represents options. It's an education in what other guys are doing in the bedroom. It's an education in what he could be doing if he hadn't married that girl, if he hadn't committed to this one, the first one, the only girl who would have sex with him, the only girl who ever like made eyes at him. If he hadn't done that, he could be having threesomes or watching porn like that. He could be doing the things that he sees on Pornhub. You want to know why women have a problem with pornography? It's not because of addictions. It's not because it destroys marriages. It's because it shows guys what they're missing. That's a hard one to swallow. Guys will say, well, it changes your brain. It changes your mind. Yeah, it does. But you know what it does first? It says, you're with this girl and this is what other guys are doing. This is like, why are you with this when you could be with this? It's that comparative thing. It's pornography. I think for women, when guys are like sort of obsessed with pornography, it's about competition anxiety. Like women say, I can't compete with that. They're not saying I can't compete with that in a tense sense of like, oh, I can't look that good or that hot. It's that she can't compete with the fantasy that represents to that guy. So yes, is there a biochemical thing? Yeah, for sure. The other part is vasopressin. So vasopressin is something that men produce when they are in a relationship as well. So I'm just tossing that out there because I don't know. I wish I knew more about vasopressin. It's just something I've been sort of picking up on right now. There's also progesterone for women as well, but vasopressin is something that guys also do. Now, here's the other thing. What's the dopamine thing? Too many guys talk about this all the time. They'll be like, well, I need to go on a dopamine diet. I need to get back to serotonin. I need to, like, they know what the hell they're talking about. Most guys, when they talk about dopamine, they think of it as the good feelings hormone. It is not. Dopamine is a precursor to the endorphins that give you the good feeling. What dopamine does is it predisposes and it prepares your body for those good feelings. So dopamine is not in and of itself the thing that's making you addicted. No, it's because dopamine is certainly a thing. It's the good feelings that come after it that end up you get addicted to those feelings. You want to know why you can't forget about her? You can't get over her? This is why. Chemically speaking, this is why. So it's the dopamine hit. It's am I going to get laid? That's what pornography does. Pornography takes away, it removes that dopamine. Like guys just like, well, I don't, I got to stop watching porn because it's too much dopamine is not good for me. It's not good for people, or like no fappers. We'll talk about this all the time. It's not the dopamine. It's the endorphins that dopamine is the precursor of. That's what makes dopamine so addicting, is because it's like, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? Am I going to? It's the anticipation hormone. You want to know why like gambling addicts get addicted to gambling? Is maybe it's this neck. Oh man, I almost got a royal flush. Oh, maybe on this spin of the reel, boom. It's this, and I know this because of behavioral psych. My background's in behavioral psychology. It's intermittent reward. Intermittent reward triggers dopamine. Is it going to be this time? Maybe this time. I can feel it in my bones. Like people will spiritualize dopamine. They will they'll build superstition around dopamine. And when I look at like the decline in sort of in interest in like organized religion or like the supernatural, when you look at like, I'm spiritual but I'm not religious. When you look at the disinterest, it's because the things that the supernatural and the spiritual used to trigger in guys and used to trigger in humans in general, but what that used to trigger was, is this real? What's going to happen? Is this going to really happen? And it used to keep you on edge. Like when we watch horror movies, when we watch really any movies, what's going to happen next? That's the dopamine hit, right? Oh, or you're watching sports. Oh, home run. Oh, touchdown. Look, that was a great play. Oh, sack. Right. It's the build up to that. That's why we get addicted to those things. That's why we become fans, because we're trying to re-trigger that sort of what's going to happen next kind of thing. So that's why pornography is something that is so addicting to guys. It's not because of the dopamine thing. It's because it bypasses that. If anything, it gives you the good feelings right away. Oh man, what am I going to check out now? Oh, this kind of porn? Oh, midgets. Oh, pink hair. Oh, she's skinny. Oh, she's fat. Oh, it's this, that dopamine triggering happens as a result of your, not necessarily guys wanting that variety so much as it is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. And so as a result of that, you have unlimited access to dopamine and endorphins as well. So what happens though? So that's I'm throwing those chemicals out there because they're very important when it comes to bonding with that woman. So when you get together with that girl, when she's the one and you're getting together with her, Because let's go back over this, because of the social aspects of, say, the blue pill, your conditioning, your upbringing, whether that's by your parents, by religion, by social media, by your pop culture, whatever, sappy 80s power ballads, I don't care, whatever. That's that part. Now there's going to be the part of you're being necessitous. So your hindbrain knows that you're one of the 80%ers, and your opportunities for getting with multiple, for unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, your opportunities at that are few and far between. So that most guys in the 80th percentile opt for what's called strategic pluralism theory. What that is men who are lower SMV are incentivized to put all of their reproductive eggs in one basket, which is it's the basis for relational equity, the fallacy of relational equity, and that's in book 1. What I mean by that is guys think that the more services they provide, the more dutiful they are, the more in love they are with their wives or girlfriends, whatever, the better father that they are. I take them to soccer practice. I do their homework with them. The more parentally invested they are, that is what locks a woman into a relationship with that guy, or his ability to advertise or broadcast the potential that he's that guy. That's his game. That's usually what beta game is all based about. It's all based on the beta buck side of hypergamy. I'm the guy who's going to do all this great stuff for you. I'm going to give you a good life. I'm going to give you a house. I'm going to buy you a car. It's like that Everclear song. I will buy you a new life. Go look that up. That right there is what 90s beta male, beta blue pill conditioning to the maximum. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Go watch it. Go look at the lyrics to I Will Buy You a New Life by Everclear. That is exactly what I'm talking about. So you've got a guy who's like that, who thinks that that's the key to a woman's heart, or key to a successful, healthy relationship. And if he screws up in any way, it's his fault and it's not her fault. She's inviolate. She's pedestalized so far above him that he can't do anything to even measure up to her. She's so close to God that I could never get to her. That's a quote, by the way, from Dal Rock. That's in book 4. So there's that aspect. Next aspect, the biological aspect of it. You're now locked in your lower testosterone because you are committed to this girl. She is your only choice. You have a scarcity mentality. You have a blue pill upbringing, and now you're locked in because of oxytocin on her side, your side as well. You want to know why guys go from being like, I was so alpha when I was 26, 27, 28 when we met, and we were having sex in the backseat of the car and the clubs, and boy, she was just an animal. And now that I'm married and she's 31 and I'm 32, the sex just dropped off. I moved in with my girlfriend, Rollo, and I can't understand why she's not into it anymore. Yeah, because you're experiencing that chemical shift. And now it's you're still in love, and you still feel that, and you still feel that connection. You remember when women say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. What that means is the chemistry that keeps me interested in you because you're comfortable and you're funny and you're a good guy, and I would love to spend forever with you, but you don't turn me on anymore. Usually it's because you got fat and you got lazy and you let yourself go. And there's a lot of ways that a guy can let himself go. Not just physically. Most guys do physically, but they can let themselves go mentally. And I think that if there's any way you want to know what a key to a healthy relationship is, it's polarity, first of all, but that polarity comes by you maintaining your testosterone levels, or you maintaining your masculine identity. That's too many guys. They're ready. They're what I call pre-whipped. They will give it. They think that it's their masculine duty to give it up, to just say, okay, well, women will never figure them out. She, happy wife, happy life. I guess we'll never figure out girls, Rollo. You just give them what they want. Yeah, you're headed for divorce court, dude. You let yourself go. And I'm gonna show you guys a video. This is actually the video that prompted this video, today's topic. And it's just too perfect an example. I see all of the super chats. I will get to all of your super chats today, but I have to. This is such a complex topic that I have to sort of dig through. Most guys, when they get to this point, right now, let me just continue where I'm at. So I'm working my way down my notes here. So when guys are in that committed relationship, once they're already there, let's just say they've been there for 4 to 7 years. And God forbid you did it way early. When you want to know why guys who like get married when they're like 18, 19, 20, and you know why there is the highest incidence of divorce for couples who got married early? It's because of two things. Is because that guy becomes somebody, we became different people. Yeah, you're damn right you did, because you're going through all of this predictable stuff that you're going to go through those ages, and you're not able to, you're limited from the things that you can do. But you also have gone probably 7 years maybe before the divorce comes, or before she's unhappy, or you're unhappy, or maybe you're the one that says, you know what, this ain't working. I can do better than this. Why did I bother with this? Most guys don't. Most guys are, because when guys get married early, it's usually because they're idealistic, and that idealism is really solid when you're younger. And that comes from naivety, I guess. But it's something that I think a lot of guys are very proud of in the beginning, and then later they just kind of like find ways to rationalize why. But when guys are marrying women at like 19, 20 years old, there's a certain making up for missing out, but it's also the knowledge that the only time in your life that you actually had some really hot monkey sex was back when you were 19 years old. And it's just been starfish. It's just been sort of lackluster or whatever. And whether it's you or her, or maybe both of you, but you're locked in. And now you get to be 30 years old. Maybe you're 40. Maybe you're in your 40s. I don't know how long. Like, I should have got the statistics for this, but I don't know what the average length, at least in America, I don't know what the average length of marriage is right now. I know what the divorce rates are. I know what the marriage rates are. I know what the age of first marriage is, but I would say that probably the duration of the average American marriage is probably about 8 years. Maybe it's a little longer than that. I don't know. But you can beat the odds, right? Hang on. Bulletproof coffee. So now you're in that relationship, and she wants to break up. The most common thing I get from guys when it's, how do I get the sex back? How do I get her love back? How do I fix it? Help me, Rollo. It's broken. How do I fix it? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you this. You don't fix it. You need to reassess it and decide whether it's worth fixing. And I know that a lot of people will say, well, that's so horrible. Well, yeah, it is. But the problem is if you want to fix anything, particularly if you want to fix a relationship, it has to be a two-way street. It has to be two people who are invested in it. And usually by that time, you're having trouble because the woman has decided that you are not the best that she can do. And that is really life and earth shattering for most guys, because they've lived their lives up to that point believing that they're married their soulmate. They married the girl who was the best they could do. And they believe, because they still believe in a mutual idealistic concept of love. They believe, most blue pill guys, most guys who are in this situation when the woman wants to leave or she's already left, it's a confirmation that her concept of love was not his concept of love. And so guys will go, well, she was just a horrible person, or she's not a quality woman. She's a horrible bitch. I can't believe she turned on me, Rollo. She alienated the kids against me, Rollo. And so you're dealing with all this stuff. But while you're doing this at the same time, you're also dealing with what I call detox. And that is the first link that is in the description there. It's an essay I wrote a long time ago, I think 2013, 2014. And it's when I first was doing a little bit of research on the biochemical aspects of breaking up. Because a lot of times, and this is according to 2013's information that I could gather when I wrote that, is a lot of the good feeling chemicals and the things that sort of bond you together for a long time as man and wife, they're in conflict with a lot of the things that are going on right now, like social media and internet porn and all, because it's showing you, it's stimulating you in ways that human beings weren't really then we weren't evolved. How to say we were evolved for it for sure, but we weren't used to it. We were evolved for a condition of scarcity, not a condition of abundance. So that's why ubiquitous online porn, free streaming 4K Pornhub porn, is so endemic and is so problematic for guys. I hate to use that term, but problematic for guys. So when you're together, when you're feeling those good feelings and you're having sex and you're maybe it's prior to your marriage, guys want to get back to that state. So when guys say, how do I get her back? They're not asking me how to get her back. They're asking me, how do I go back to that state? How do I go back to the good feelings? How do I go back to the lust? You want to know why guys cheat? Here's why guys cheat. They cheat because of two things, or anybody cheats because of two things. These are the two things that people use to or justify cheating. Anyways, this is I kind of distilled this a while ago. The first one is opportunity, and the second one is a reason. So most guys don't have the opportunity to cheat. They simply don't have the opportunity. They're just not, they're the 80%ers. And the longer they wait and the less they do, and the more committed they are, and the more they stay in the state of commitment, which is, the biochemical state of commitment, which is, low testosterone, high vasopressin, high, oxytocin, and fluctuating dopamine. The longer you stay in that, the fatter you get. Another part, another part of commitment is cortisol levels raise as well. Now, if you don't believe me, here's the evolutionary side of this whole thing is if you get out of a relationship, your testosterone spikes. If you win something, if your sports team wins something, if you take up MMA fighting and you defeat a rival, or you get a bonus, get a bonus pay, or you get what is it, an advancement or whatever, you get raised, you get a new position, you get new status at work, your testosterone will go up. There's ways you can naturally influence your testosterone. And you can also take TRT. You want to know why TRT is so hard to get? In an age where Viagra is everywhere and soy is everywhere. We have the lowest sperm counts ever, but we're not going to allow men to have TRT. Because people, I think, fundamentally know that testosterone will inspire men to do things. Right? Why do they call it roid rage? Well, because it makes you aggressive. It makes you, I don't say violent, but it certainly makes you hostile. That's why they call it that. It inspires aggression. It inspires anger. Oh no, we can't have angry men. No testosterone for you. Because they know. But there's ways somebody told me this. I don't know how true this is. I hope this is true because I do squat a lot, but they're saying that if you use a squat rack more, if you're religiously in the squat rack, it will increase your testosterone. Somebody tell me that's true, please, because I want to believe that that's true. That's my TRT is the squat rack. So, there's ways to do it. There's ways, I think it's a mental thing as well. Because if you're a type A kind of guy, if you're the guy who's sort of a go-getter, if you're interested in ambition and your passions and everything, and you have mental point of origin, and it's all about you, and then your wife and your kids and everyone who is associated with you benefit because of you being your own mental point of origin. You want to know why the blue pill teaches young boys to make women and womankind and anybody else their mental point of origin? Why does religion teach boys and men to be serviceable, to sacrifice themselves? Because it's a means of control. And when guys get to a point where it's not about someone else and it has to become about them, they feel guilty about that. You want to know how to build up your testosterone. You want to know how to put yourself into a state where you can at least in some way maximize your natural testosterone potential, is to make yourself your mental point of origin. To be, it's you know what, I'm the most important person in my life right now, and I'm heading to the gym, or I'm going to do TRT, or I'm going to do whatever. So when a guy is single, his testosterone is higher. When a guy is in a committed relationship where he's married, it tends to drop. And again, as you get older, it drops even more, just naturally, right? Over the course of, but by the time you're 30, doesn't it drop 1%? from the time you're 30 until you're 60 or whatever. I don't know where it is. But so there's that side of it. I don't know the biochemical side. So you're dealing with a breakup right now where you've got all this you have the chemicals, you've got the psychology, you've got the sociology that's applied to it. Now, here's the other part is guys when they ask me to get back with a girl, they want to get back to those good feelings. They want to get back to that side. So what happens is when that girl is gone, when she says, no, screw it, I'm out, I don't want to have anything to do with you, bye. Guys will say this. It's like she doesn't know me, Rollo. It's like, I don't know. She turned into somebody who I don't even know who she is. She's doing things, or she's acting in ways, or she's having sex with this guy in ways she never would have sex with me. And she's doing so because she's the one initiating. She's actually initiating sex. I'm the one who always had to initiate sex for 10 years. And now she's with this guy and she can't get enough of the dude. Why? Because she's back at that stage of lust again. She's feeling those feelings that you were back when you first got with her. And that pisses guys off. And that's hard psychologically, but it's also hard because of the psychological state that you're in, because the good feelings that you had with that girl are gone. And most guys realize that they're not going back to those good feelings ever again with that girl. And when you're in a state of scarcity, it might seem like the end of the world. You might kill yourself because of that. So when guys, you want to know why, and I just have this up here, the suicide rate has climbed this is in the United States. U.S. suicide rate climbed 35% in 2 decades. I'm reading this from U.S. News here. And thank you, Rugby, for sending me this. Health Day reporter Wednesday, this is April 2020. The U.S. suicide rate has jumped 35% in the past 2 decades. Health officials reported Wednesday. From 1999 to 2018, the suicide rate rose from 10.5 to 14 per 1,000, according to the new report from the U.S. Center for Disease Control, the CDC. Research found that the rate of suicide rose by 1% a year from 1999 to 2006. Then a 2% increase per year from 2006 through 2018. What happened in 2006? Was that the rise of social media? I think that was. The report also shows that men are more likely to die by suicide than women. And people in rural areas are at greater risk than in urban counterparts. The report shows that there continues to be differences in suicide by rates by sex, age group, and urban and rural locations. Examination of suicide rates for different demographic groups help identify those groups at higher risk. This information can help guide prevention efforts that we have little or none of for men right now. The suicide rate rose for both men and women. While the suicide rate rose for both men and women, it soared 55% among females compared to a 28% climb amongst men. Still, men are nearly 4 times more likely to take their own lives, researchers reported. So we can't leave women out of this. They're crazy too, but men are still offing themselves at 4 times the rate. In 2018, the male suicide rate was nearly 23 per 100,000, and for females, it was slightly more than 6 per 100,000. Now, they go on, of course. They have to buffer all of the bad news for men with a few things for women, of course. But the fact remains that it's mostly guys who are offing themselves. And I wanted to bring that up, and I'll if you really want that link, I'll give it to you. But this gets back to my essay that I wrote about called Zeroed Out. And I think that what happens, and one of the reasons why we have these at these particular times, like the demographic for the highest rate of suicide for men in the United States is between 44 and 64, 65. It was like a 20-year span. And usually this is also coincides with the time of first divorce for guys. So I would say that there is definitely a correlation between that. We also see that significant jump from 2006 to 2018. I don't know what it is now, but that jump also coincides with what I call the new order, right? The new order internet and the information and everything else, social media, lots of stuff. Why is it rural men? Still trying to figure that one out. If you guys want to throw out your ideas about that, I'm all ears. I think it's more, I would like to see what I think that there's a correlation between divorce and male suicide. Usually it's because guys are realizing that they are sort of hopeless at that point. And again, why? Because of their idea that they are necessitous. They are, in a sense, in a state of scarcity. They have been useful and have probably, at least whether they have or they haven't is irrelevant, but they probably believe that their relational equity was what was going to be their insurance against divorce, against living happily ever after. If I do all these good things, and this is where it's going to get a little raw, guys. One of the reasons why I got into doing what I do is because, as most people know, my brother-in-law committed suicide back in 2003. And it was as a result of, I don't say it was, she didn't do the killing, but she was the catalyst for it. But my sister-in-law was the catalyst for him to kill himself. Very similar to what happened with Anthony Bourdain. When you have Asia Argento, who he has this very, like Anthony Bourdain had this very blue pill, very idealistic perspective of love that if you see the pictures, I've written like at least 3 different essays about Anthony Bourdain. He had a very Pollyanna, blue pill conditioned perspective of love and fantasized of having the perfect mate into his old age. And he was already, was he in 60s or something like that? He was late 50s, early 60s when he killed himself. Suicide is something, and when guys hang themselves, that means something different than when a guy swallows a bullet. So when a guy hangs himself, now if you go and you look at the thumbnail for today's show, I picked this up from, and I'm going to give it, I picked this up from I think it was a single or an album cover for a song that the Police did back in 1979, 1980, I think it was called Can't Stand Losing You. And if you look at the lyrics for Can't Stand Losing You, and I'm not going to repeat them because I'll probably get a copyright infringement for that, but if you go and you look at the lyrics for Can't Stand Losing You, and you realize that these lyrics were written in the I want to say late 70s, but I'm sure Sting probably wrote it back then, but at least early 80s, let's say. This is a common thing. Like guys who are, your dads and you're probably maybe even your grandparents, those guys, they went through this as well. And then this was their thing. And they either got through it or they hung themselves. When a man hangs himself, it means something different than when a guy like actually puts a gun in his mouth and shoots himself. Or maybe leaves a suicide note or whatever. It's like this self-righteous suicide, right? Like you'll be sorry when I'm dead, that kind of thing. And I think there's still that, I think there's just like, again, it's this self-righteous thing. Most guys, when they approach suicide, particularly because a woman was sort of the catalyst of it, it's almost like I'm going to kill myself and get my revenge, which is like the most moronic thing I could possibly think of. I've talked about revenge before, like, oh, I'm going to get her back by doing this. No, you're not. You're going to be dead and she's not going to think about you. And nobody cares. And no one will care. The only way you're going to get people to care is if you stay alive and you make something better of yourself. So that's my statement on suicide. I don't want you to kill yourself. That's why I got into this. I don't want men to put a noose around their neck. I don't want you to get zeroed out. Guys, you're going to get zeroed out. Sorry. That's part of being a man. You will get zeroed out probably like multiple times in your life. And it's how you bounce back from that and how you rebuild from that. And for a lot of guys, when they get to be 44 to 65 years old, thereabouts, the prospect of rebuilding yourself at that age, particularly in, I guess, rural America, that can be pretty daunting. I don't want, it's easier to just simply off myself. Nobody cares. Bang. Well, I care, first of all, and I care. But I mean, I do. That's why I do this. Why do I bother doing these things? Why do I bother with a podcast, a video channel? Why do I bother writing books? I mean, ultimately, that's it. So you can change your life and save your life and do something new, do something else with your life, and to give you the tools to do it, but also to let you know that there's opportunities for you in a red pill paradigm, in a red pill awareness. And you want to know why I get so heated and I get so worked up when I see guys like saying, "Oh yeah, all you got to do is just man up, man. Stop being a little bitch. Stop being this. Get out there and smack you. Go on, man. The reason why your life sucks is because it sucks." The reason why stop being pathetic and start being awesome. Oh, great. Okay. Well, how do I do that? Where do we go with this? So tell me why I feel the way that I do. That's what I'm trying to do, is give you tools here so that you can live a better life, so you can do something new and realize it's not hopeless. I wrote a book when I was 40 something. I was like my mid 40s when I got the first one out. Now I'm putting out my fourth book at 52 years old. So, there's a lot of things you can do. You guys don't realize that there's probably more opportunities for you at every age than there will be for women. That's for sure. So when you are breaking up, you're dealing with the biochemical aspects of that. And that's the first place you need to start, is the detox. Understand. Now I'm going to give you some actionable information here. Understand that when you're breaking up, it's the cessation of those hormones. It's the cessation of the drugs, really, that are in your system. Your body naturally produces them, but it's a cessation of that chemical cocktail that has kept you in a continuous relationship that you believe, with your beliefs and your convictions, then come into play to reinforce all those good feelings. I wouldn't feel great if it wasn't for my belief set, right? So you sort of like backwards rationalize why your life is the way it is, or, well, she's just, that's just how she is. And I have a bad relationship. And as soon as I figure it out, once we go to counseling, everything will be fine. You will backwards rationalize things, but you'll do the same backwards rationalization when you are breaking up. So the first thing you need to understand as a guy, when you're in a breakup situation, is more likely than not, she's going to be the one who's breaking up with you. More likely than not, she's the one who's been planning this. There's no such thing as a spontaneous breakup. Okay. Unless like you kill somebody and she's like, he's a murderer. There's no such thing as a spontaneous breakup for a woman. They plan their breakups. They plan the split. Usually by the time that a woman tells you it's over, it's just a formality for her, because she's been planning it, or her girlfriends have been helping her. She's been on some forums, or she's already talked to the divorce attorney, whatever. How we're going to do this. She's probably already knows exactly how she wants it to go down. So unless you're the one that's doing the breakup, and like I said, that's the rare case. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does, but that is by and large, like women, 70%, let's say, are the ones who are initiating those things. So when that happens, the cessation of those good feelings is what's going to set your mind off. That's what's going to depress you. That's what's going to make you feel suicidal. That's what's going to make you feel angry. Usually what happens when guys are in a breakup, they usually get really, really angry, and maybe they want to kill her, and maybe they want to kill the kids, and maybe they want to kill the guy that she's been doing all those things with him that she initiated that she would never do with him. Yeah, that might be your anger response, and some guys will have that. Most likely, you're probably of the other side, which is you get depressed and you want to harm yourself. And you can't see, again, it's like, I can't stand losing you, right? I don't see any point in all of this. There's no purpose in I can't go on. And if you believe in the nonsense of the soulmate, and you believe that there's only one person for you, and that person has decided to reject you, not only is that a rejection of you, it is a rejection of your belief in that system, in the idea of the one, in the idea of the soulmate, in the idea of your one-itis. You want to know why one-itis was one of the first things that PUAs picked up on back in the day? It's because they were all still blue pill, and they were still trying to figure this stuff out. I don't know, I caught feelings for her. Yeah, and it sucks. Why was Mystery suicidal? Because he hadn't figured it out. And it's a chemical reaction. It's a chemical side of it. You got to detox from it. When I was writing Detox, I put this in the essay, is like I think the chemical signature of the cocktail that's in your brain or whatever, when you're sort of separating from that woman, is very similar to heroin. It's like breaking an addiction. And like guys will sing songs. You're my addiction. Like, yeah, I'm addicted. Was it Don Henley's Addicted to Love? Yeah, literally you are. Like, why are they coming? You say, well, this comes out of subconscious. Well, yeah, but it's true. You are literally addicted to those feelings, to the emotions. Remember that emotions are not magic. Okay. Love is not magic. It's not cosmic. Here's your gift. Magic. Okay. Love is not magic. Anger is not magic. Fear is not magic. Right? Name any emotion, even any base root emotion. It's not magic. It's meant for you to, emotions arise from you interpreting your surroundings. And I can change the way you feel just by putting a chemical in your brain. Your pituitary gland can make you feel certain things. There's mood altering drugs. Why do people think that they saw God when they take ayahuasca? Yeah, what's floating around your bloodstream, man? Of course you do. I chewed up magic mushrooms and I saw God and now I have a religious experience. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Oh, let's take peyote. Okay. Yeah, you're going to have a religious experience. It's not magic. It's the chemicals that you're feeling. It's the stuff that it's your natural response for. But we take those things, and we've done this as human beings for a very long time. We will raise emotion up to a mystical state. And we did the same. We pretty much do the same thing with love, and maybe for the best. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's good that we do that. Maybe it's good that we sort of spiritualize make supernatural, I guess, certain emotions, because they're important emotions. They're important for social cohesion also. They're also important for relationships and intersexual dynamics. So maybe if we're going to say, well, it's, ignorance is bliss. Well, okay, well, at least maybe we can at least make a case for it being pro-social, but they're not magic. And so when we talk about biochemicals, when we talk about the chemical cocktail in your brain when you're breaking up and you feel emotions of anger or, like I said, depression, which is the most common one, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What does an animal want to do when the reward that has been getting consistently, even maybe it's intermittently, but it's getting it somewhat regularly, semi-predictably? What does that animal do when it stops? When the rat presses the lever and there's no more food pellet that pops out, what does that animal do? Well, it goes through what's called an extinction burst. I'll talk about that in a second. But what it's trying to do is reestablish the reward. And so what do human beings do when that dopamine, if you want to call it dopamine, whatever, the cocktail, the chemical cocktail is no longer there. In fact, it's the anti-cocktail. You want those things like, go Rollo, how do I get her back? You don't want her back. You want that feeling back. That's why guys revert to alcoholism. That's why they go for Oxytocin or opiates. That's why you want to know why if you go and you look at the suicide rates, like 4 times the rate for men, what do you think the prescription opiate addiction is? I mean, it's also increased as well. Yes, I know China's flooding us with opioids. Yeah. Okay. Well, fine. You know what? It's because guys want to kill themselves or they want to feel better because the state of their lives sucks. Why do doomers love red meat videos? Why do they love pro-revenge? Because it triggers that chemical rush. It triggers something. Why do women love indignation? Because it triggers that chemical rush. And it triggers the emotion. And then, of course, what happens because of that chemical rush is those chemicals trigger emotions in those people. So when you see a saber-toothed tiger and you have the fight or flight response, it's because there's a chemical in your system that has either made you aggressive, or it's made you go, I'm getting out of here. Why do you get hangry when you're hungry? Why do you get like pissed off when you're like, I need some food? I go, that Snickers commercial. You're not yourself when you don't have food. Why? Why is that even a thing? Why would that possibly ever be a thing? Well, what's the motivation? Well, you got to get pissed off so you can kill something, put it on the grill and eat it. I mean, in our ancestral past, that's pretty much makes sense, right? That's why you get hangry. Why do you do things? Why do you get a hard on when you see a centerfold? Same thing. There's the chemicals. I feel the emotion. I'm in lust. Let's go. Oh, let's turn it on again. Squirt, 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 right? So when you are breaking up, all that goes away. And just like a little rat, you will do the same thing. You will try to find ways to reestablish those good feelings. You'll do anything, man. You'll do crazy things. You'll dress up like a furry, man. You will do all manner of humiliating things because you think that if it doesn't get her back, maybe I can get somebody else, kind of thing. And I think what happens, particularly in this day and age for this generation, maybe the generation prior to it, is they would rather get back with the sure thing. And I'm talking about guys in this case, maybe girls to an extent, but they want the sure thing. You want to know why you want to get back with your ex? Because she's the sure thing. It worked before. I had sex with her before and it felt good before. How do I get that back? It's a sure thing. All I got to do is figure out how hard could it be? Figuring out the sure thing or finding the new thing. Most guys don't care about the new thing. They don't want the new thing because that's work. That entails actual real rejection, maybe. You might have to learn game. You might have to get in the gym. You might actually have to make an effort. Nah, screw that. I'm going to go with the sure thing. Well, you know what? Your sure thing's gone and she's banging some other guy right now and she's doing it with him in a way that she never wanted to have sex with you because now she can do it because now she knows what she wants, right? Now she's not naive anymore. And so guys get pissed off. Like guys will tell me this, like they'll go from the, I need to reestablish the good feelings, the chemicals, to getting really pissed off. And usually you'll go through those phases. I hate it when I see like these, here's the 6 ways that you can get over a girl. Well, what they never take into account is like the chemical aspect of it. You need to detox. And then you need to change your mind about yourself. Because the reason you got into that state, the reason why you are suicidal, the reason why she was your everything, your sun and your moon, the reason why you said, I love you first is because of your conditioning, because that's where your head was at. You weren't in your own mental point of origin. It was all about her or womankind. You were already pre-whipped. And I'll tell you what the saddest, most pathetic man in the world is the guy who doesn't learn from this. He goes right back to it. Oh, well, it was her. She was not who she said she was. And she wasn't the one. I just need to trust in God or destiny or whatever stripper name I can think of. I got to find, it just didn't work out because when people say that, when guys tell me that and they're still clinging to their ideals, and it was, it's a problem with her. They don't learn. The guys who don't learn the lesson, it's like, remember I told you about triage, about how unplugging men from the matrix is dirty work, and it should be like triage. You save the ones you can, and you read Last Rites to the Dying. That's the guy you read Last Rites to, because he's not going to. If that crisis, if that trauma is not going to teach him anything, there's not a lot you can do for that guy. I really wish there was. And as soon as I figure it out how to reach those guys, I will let you know. I will write a book and make $1 million off of that. But as it stands right now, that's really tough because what that says to me is that guy is more dedicated to his convictions and his belief set. Trust the process. The process should have worked. It didn't work with her. She was my quality woman before. Now she's the evil bitch that has full custody of our kids. But it's okay. She turned on me. No, it's because you believed in a failed system and a failed process. I'm going to show you guys this one. I have to show you this. It's only a 3-minute video. I have to show you this before we get a little bit close. I'm already running out. I knew this was going to go long today, so I'm not even going to pretend that I'm not going to go long. Yes, I do know that YouTube has been cutting off like chunks of my video. So probably the first part of this video is not going to show up immediately after it compiles. I get it. I figured it out though. So what I need to do is I have to go back in, chop off a little bit of it, and then recompile it manually by hand. So I go in, I just take out like maybe 10 seconds or whatever out of a part of it, and then I recompile it, and then the whole thing comes back up. That's what's going on. I'm not getting censored. It's just a glitch. It's just how it compiles. So I want to show you this. This is this is a show called Closure. And I don't know if this is a YouTube exclusive thing or what it is, but this is somebody, I had so many guys sending me this. And so what it is it's like, I guess two ex lovers come to the table and they have to answer these questions. There's never been a more red meat show than this. It is so satisfying for the indignation that feminized guys, looking at you doomers, looking at you black pill guys, the guys who want to, they just want to whip themselves. They're the flagellants of the Middle Ages. They want to beat themselves up. And then it also appeals to the indignation of women. They love this. This is red meat for both. That's why this is a popular show. I mean, look, what is it, 100,000 views on this one? This was on January 18th. Wow, this is old. I didn't realize how old this was. Anyways, people were showing me this, and I thought this was interesting. It was a good example of what I've been talking about.
This kind of shit.
Were you ever in love with me?
You don't dress like a man.
You're pretty much a bitch then, aren't you?
Do you still think about me?
Sometimes. What was your favourite thing about me?
How you made me laugh. No one could make me laugh like you, but that's what I liked. Are you dating again? And if so, with who?
No, I'm not dating again actually. I'm just still single, innit? What are you dating again?
Kind of.
Seriously? So you don't miss me?
I do miss you, but we can't get back together, so I'm wanting to move on.
Were you ever in love with me?
No.
Seriously?
Was it? Sorry.
What was the least favourite thing about me?
How you dress.
Is it serious?
Just didn't like it. I don't like it. I just don't like how you dress. You don't dress like a man.
Oh man.
At what point was the relationship over for you?
It must have been the bit where you cheated. That one came good though, didn't it? That one came good. How many people have you slept with since me?
2.
See that right there? That's funny. Like, just under his breath, he's just like, fuck. What I think is interesting, and it's really hard to look at these things. Yeah, she's enjoying it. She is definitely enjoying RJ. Yeah, definitely she's enjoying this. But, and also I should, hoop earrings noted without comment. I think one of the first things that guys will do is they will beat themselves up over the sexual side of the split up, of the breakup. That's one of the first things that guys like. How many guys have you had sex with since we broke up? 2, so 4. That's very common for a lot of dudes. They want to know the details. Because they like to beat themselves up over that. They like to. Now the reason why she's not with this guy is because at some point in that relationship, it was like, okay, this guy is not the best I can do. This guy is not alpha. He is a beta. I've been with this guy. I made a commitment to him. Now I need to get out. Who do you think split up? Like, she cheated. Yeah, she was cheating because she was motivated to get out of that relationship so that she could go in and look at better hypergamous options than the one that she was already with. I love you that you made me laugh, but I don't love you. I never really loved you. But you were still in the relationship with this guy. You still led this guy on, and apparently you cheated on him. So there's one actually, I could just close it here, but it's not that long. Let me keep going.
Seriously?
I need to live my life. Like, if I want sex, do what I need to do.
What have you told your new significant other about me?
That you're a dickhead and you're just a waste of my time.
Seriously?
You are a dickhead, so what do you think of me now?
After you said I'm a dickhead, you're pretty much a bitch then, aren't you then?
I'm a bitch.
Probably before that question, I would have been like, you're alright.
It's funny because when he calls her a bitch at that point, this is, I'm not going to say this is a good example of it, but this is also a good example of what I call flash of alpha. She wasn't expecting that. She expects when women have a predominant impression of you as a man as either alpha or beta. When you're predominantly a beta, she's expecting your answers to be predictable. She's expecting you to be like accommodating, agreeable, nice. And then when you're not, it's shocking. It's almost like, oh, you're trying to be somebody you're not. You're trying to be jacked. You're trying to be, you're posing. You're a poser kind of thing. But when that's put in their face, and this is, I want to have this at the end here because this is key to a breakup, to having a good breakup, to getting away from a woman. You need to walk out on your feet. This guy certainly didn't walk out on his feet. This guy he accepted his fate, and you can tell just by the way she looks at him, her body language, the conversation that they're having. This is very difficult. They probably just walked away and didn't want to have nothing to do with each other after this. But it's interesting because when she is sort of confronted, like that's probably the first time he's ever called her a bitch. And she's like, why am I a bitch? Like, I can't believe somebody on planet Earth thinks that I'm a bitch.
But and then you called me a dickhead now, so what's your biggest regrets about our relationship?
Me cheating. I regret cheating on someone, but I just don't regret cheating on you. Because I don't feel that anyone should be cheated on, but that's how I felt at the time. Do you still love me or have feelings for me?
Maybe at the beginning of the...
So that last bit right there where she says, I regret cheating, but I don't regret cheating on you. That is a woman's hindbrain saying it's balancing the hypergamous equation. Okay. So, and I've said this before, and I was just tweeting about this not too long ago, is that when it comes to cognitive dissonance, women have no trouble with cognitive dissonance whatsoever when it comes to maximizing hypergamy. So if the cognitive dissonance comes from two conflicting concepts, and either one of those concepts will improve her life via I will find a better mate, I will find the guy who is the best I can do, if I can in some way, or the potential of those two in some way maximizes hypergamy, then there's no problem for it. So it's like she says, I don't feel that it's right for someone to cheat on somebody, but it was okay with you. Because the hindbrain says, okay, well, he's beta, so it's okay to cheat with him because any guy that I'm cheating with has the potential to be better than the guy that I'm with.
The thing I probably did, but now I don't know.
How can that change though? Don't get it.
Now I see how you actually feel. What was the worst thing I did in bed?
Your sex. Sex is kind of shit. I think that's the worst thing. Just couldn't please me enough.
Oh.
Sorry.
Don't cheat with your boyfriend with one of his mates.
There's that. All right, so we're good. It's only three minutes. Sorry. Anyways, I thought that was interesting because what guys will do is that conversation that he's having with her. You know why that's a popular show, and there's other ones too. There's like at least a dozen of those things. A reason it's popular is because that's a conversation that guys like to have with themselves. Like I wonder if does she really love me? Does she really mean what she said? It doesn't matter, dude. You're done. You're out. I wouldn't even go. Like, I can't believe guys would go and subject themselves to doing something like that. But that gets me to my final point today, which is how do you avoid getting zeroed out and how do you get over her? Understand this, first of all, that when you are getting over her, you have to realize that you have to detox. That's the first thing. Biochemically, you have to detox. Do not start getting into drugs. Do not start drinking more. That's the first thing guys do. When you get a breakup, what do? You hit the bar. That's in every Hollywood movie. Oh, we broke up. Toss one back because I want to be numb. Yeah, well, it's not so much you're being numb. It's that the alcohol is something as a stimulant, or it's a simulation of the good feelings that you're trying to get back to. I want to feel good. And then you wake up and you're worse off because you're hungover. You didn't get to the gym. I would say this: if you really want to feel better, make sure you get your ass in the gym. Go and you want endorphins? Don't start sucking down tequila. Hit the gym. Get in the squat rack. Trigger it that way. So don't become self-destructive. The problem with most guys is that they don't understand, and this is just me personally, this is my own personal effect. You can tell me to go to hell if you want to, but I don't believe in contentment. Even when you are at your most content, I don't think that contentment, as we would like idealize, because men are idealists, we cannot find an ideal state of contentment. And so when guys are in a relationship, even if it's the shittiest relationship they've ever been in, they will be like, oh man, it's still great. She's, she's my better half. I can't believe she'd be with a schmuck like me. Like they'll still self-deprecate even when their wives are like, they're in a sexless marriage for 4 years or they're getting starfish sex or whatever. They'll still think that they've got it good because of that scarcity mentality. And that still sticks with a lot of guys. They don't want to say anything bad about their ex. Their ex will be happy to say something bad about them. Their ex will like set their kids against them. And they'll still be like, well, no, I got to trust the process. Oh, she just wasn't the right one. As soon as I find the one, and then they don't. Or then the prospect of them finding the one is so depressing that they kill themselves. But get over the biochemical aspects of it. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to tell you, just stop being a bitch. Just get out there and do it. Go be motivate. And I know guys need that. I'm not saying they don't. They do. I saw that out. I saw that in play when I did the documentary for VPRO, the Dutch public television documentary I did back in, well, actually I recorded it back in October last year, but it came out in March of this year. And there's a segment in it, and it's in Dutch, so you'll have to just follow the subtitles. But they also covered this group of guys, and I want to say they're in Germany. Maybe they're in Germany. Anyways, a group of guys in Europe, let's just say Germany or Holland, I'm not really sure. But they're guys, and this happens in the United States too, is the guys will get together and they will try to, amp each other up. Really, that's what RSD ended up devolving into, was just a pep rally. But before they get to that point, they need to be like sort of broken down. It's almost like boot camp. I got to break you first, and then I'll build you back up. I mean, a good drill sergeant will just crush your soul and then build you back into a man, right? I mean, archetypally, that's supposed to be what happens. If you go and you look at Elliot Hulse's stuff, you want to know why he's so popular and he is literally a millionaire is because guys want that abuse. And I don't mean that abuse as in terms of like bullying or whatever. They need that deconstruction. They need to be destroyed so that they can be rebuilt. And that's what they pay for. That's why they go I'm going to lift big, heavy object, lift heavy things, and take cold showers, and get up at 4 a.m. and abuse yourself and flagellate. It's what I call self-flagellation. That's all it is. But you got to break yourself down. Yeah, that's going to be part of it. You're probably going to have to reconstruct yourself. You're going to have to unlearn the things that got you into that situation in the first place, that broke your relationship. Most often when women leave guys, it's because they think they can do better. And women will make up all manner of rationalization. Well, he was abusive. He did this, or he was emotionally unavailable, or he lost his job, or whatever the rationale, it might be even real reasoning. But when they get to that point, that's when the hindbrain says he's not the best that I can do. I'm out, or she starts planning to get out. Also, remember, when you are in that state, she's been planning, most likely, if she follows form, she has been that way for a long time. She's been contemplating that for a while. The death of your relationship didn't happen because of one instance. It happened because of a lot of instances. It happened because of a lot. Like, so, well, he cheated on me. Well, what's funny is most women in particular are more willing, or at least in the past, I don't know if this is still true now, women are more willing to forgive a man cheating than a man will of a woman. Now, why is that? Because for men's reproductive imperatives is paternity. If a woman cheats on him, maybe if he's really weak, if he's really beta, he'll probably take her back, or he'll raise the child that's not his. Because he thinks it's ennobling, because society has said that's what you ought to do. You will see I just saw this. I'm not going to show you the tweet, but I was just looking at this. And people said it was a staged video. I don't know, but I'll tell you what wasn't staged was the responses to it. And it was this girl. It was her birthday. It was black guy, black girl, and she's in the kitchen. And he gives her this present on her birthday. She goes through, different various sizes of bags, whatever. She comes down and she has this piece of paper. She reads a piece of paper, and it is supposed to be, anyways, documentation that their 3-year-old daughter is not genetically the father's. And so there's this break, and yeah, it's red meat. Maybe, I don't know if it's, I hate Twitter. I really do, because it's like, it looks real. It could be real. People say, oh no, this is fake. I'll tell you what, people are really much more motivated to say it's fake when it's when it's something that's unflattering of women's nature. And it's something that's fairly common, right? It's essentially, it's birth fraud. The guy gets a DNA test. He figures it out. Ha!
Gotcha, bitch.
Like that. That's feels good, right? Again, red meat. But the responses weren't. And all of the responses from women were like, well, maybe she got a sperm. She was infertile and she had to get a sperm sample from a sperm bank, or like, I mean, just the wildest, craziest like things. Like, well, he shouldn't be mad. He shouldn't do that. He should accept the child as his own. And just like nothing but rationales from women as to why he's the one who's the jerk for getting a DNA test to see if the kid is his or not. Again, I don't know if it's real. I'm not saying it is, but the responses aren't. The responses are organic. And I put this on a tweet, and I want to say this right now, is that because this is pertinent to the conversation here, is that when a woman has that cognitive dissonance that I was saying, like the girl here, I cheated on you, but I feel like cheating is bad, but I didn't think it was bad with you because you're a chump. Well, when it comes to those things, like I said before, cognitive dissonance is something that women don't have a problem reconciling for themselves, as long as they're talking about one of those propositions or one of those concepts that are conflicting with each other in some way might have the potential, or does have the potential, to maximize, optimize hypergamy for that woman. Guess what? Whenever that comes around, whenever women are presented with that, whether it's on daytime television or it's in romance novels or it's on Twitter or it's on whatever the Instagram or whatever video, or this video that I just showed you a minute ago, when women respond to that, you know what they do? They say, you're the asshole. You're the guy. You should always be on board with a woman's choice to reproduce. She's the one who should have the 100% uncontested control over human reproduction. And if you have a problem with that, you're an insecure, masculine, toxically masculine male. And they'll say that knowing that the woman who cheated, who attempted to, in this case, perpetrate birth fraud, the girls don't have any problem with that. They'll help the girl because they know the same thing, that, well, she cheated. Well, it must have been his fault because he wasn't man enough. He didn't dress the right way. He didn't do the things that she wanted him to do. He didn't bang her as hard as she wanted to get banged by these other guys. Whatever it is, women will back that girl up because they know it's the same thing. It's the same nature. It's the same ability to reconcile cognitive dissonance. So what do? They come up with rationales like, well, maybe she went to a sperm bank. Maybe she did this. Maybe she did that. Maybe, did you ever think this? And they will back her up. And likewise, they will reinforce that woman reconciling that cognitive dissonance that she has no problem with. The sisterhood will reinforce cognitive dissonance in women as long as that cognitive dissonance is about hypergamy, or optimizing hypergamy. What's best for her? What will complete her sexual strategy? Because they would like to have it completed for themselves. They would want somebody to do the same thing for them. It's a woman's world, right? So, anyways, last but not least, and I'm going to get to the supers here. When you are in that state, do not self-medicate. That's the most important part. The second part is this. Is that you have to unlearn the things that you've learned. At no other time in your life will you be more amenable to understanding the red pill and understanding women's nature. Educate yourself. Stay on top of that. Also, understand that you're not in a state of deficit after this. Not if you maximize yourself, not if you build yourself up from this. You say, well, I'm zeroed out. How do I do this? Well, stop looking at being zeroed out as a state of deficit so much as it is an opportunity for you to become something else, for you to rise from the ashes. I'm the phoenix, right? To being something more than you were. Because if you'd stayed in that situation, you would never be motivated. You would never be prompted. No one would ever kick your butt. That's why, like I said, Elliot Hulse, these other guys, they want to be motivated. They want to be kicked in the ass. Most men today, they don't know how to relate with men. Have no idea. They have no education. They have no social education, let's say, of how to how to relate with guys. And later on, they might get it. Or maybe they want to kick in the ass and they don't realize that they want to kick in the ass. Or else they think that, I don't want to be bullied. He's bullying me. They don't understand that. Like guys, what is it? Iron sharpens iron. They don't realize that that's not bullying. When guys give you grief, when the guys will shit test other guys all the time. Different way. It's not sexual. Hopefully it's not a sexual way, but they will, it's not so much as I wouldn't call it a shit test. It's a fitness test. Like, are you somebody I can rely on? Do you get it? Like when women want a guy who just gets it. When guys want a friend, when guys want a teammate, when guys want a tribe member, they want to know that you get it too, that I can mess with you and I can push you and you'll push back. Go read what is it? The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. There's a lot of information about that, but I'm not going to get too much into that. But I think that when you are at that state where you're in that breakup, guys don't look outside themselves when they're there because there's not a lot of support for women. When a woman breaks up, they got the church, they got social media, they got their girlfriends, they got everything. Because again, that's the sisterhood. That's the communitarian nature, the collectivist nature of women. They're there for their girls. Like I was just saying a minute ago, even in cognitive dissonance, their girls are there to support them. And in the worst, most immoral, unconventional way possible, they're still there. And that's no problem. Even if you did the worst thing in the world, like, you cheated on your husband, I can't believe it. Girls don't care. I mean, they might care, but they don't care enough to disassociate themselves with that girl. They want to know what happened. What happened? Guys don't look for other dudes. And I'm not saying you need to go find a support group or get into some cuddle circle or some hug box. I'm saying if you feel like you are suicidal, or if you feel like you might hurt yourself, or if you feel like you might hurt somebody else, you definitely need to talk to somebody. I'm not going to say you don't, right? Definitely need to have some sort of conversation. In that case, I would say yes. Guys don't naturally do that, right? And it's not because we're taught to be toxic. Oh, he just wants to be stoic. That's just how we are. We process information before we process emotion. So when we're forced to process emotion, or when we've been conditioned to think that emotion is everything and it's this magical woo-woo thing, that we're in this state of depression because we deserve it. We're in this state of depression because God hates us, or the fates aligned against us, or whatever. That's tough on guys, because what happens is when that woman rejects you, she's rejecting your relational equity. That pisses guys off too, especially guys who've been in long marriages. How could she do this to me? I read books to the kids. I did their homework. I took them to school. I did all this stuff. I've been the perfect guy. I did all this stuff, and then now she's banging this guy. How did that happen? I was perfect. Relational equity means nothing. Relational equity means nothing when it comes to hypergamy, particularly in this age where women believe that they are entitled to optimized hypergamy. They're entitled to it. I'm entitled to this life. I'm entitled to that. He's not the best I can do. I know he's a great guy. God damn it. I had an article that I'll dig it up. I promise you I will put this in the description, but I was reading this one article, I think it was from about 2018, and it was a psychologist who was female, who are almost all female right now. And she wrote this article about why it is that wives are divorcing good men. And it was an epidemic of this, like back in 2017, 2018, enough so that this well thought of psychologist was writing, clinical psychologist was writing an article about why she was seeing in her practice more and more women coming into her practice saying, I'm going to divorce my guy. I don't even understand why I am, because he's a swell guy. He's a good dude. He takes care of the kids. He has a good job. Not a great job, but he's a good dude. But she wants to get rid of him because she's 38 or 39 and she wants to, see what else is available. Maybe she's in her 40s, whatever. He's going to get zeroed out. And, and so she was trying to understand this, but from a pro-female, like gynocentric perspective. But I thought it was interesting because it was actually, I don't say an epidemic, but it was enough that it was something that she wanted to write about. It was significant enough that she was seeing so many people coming in, so many women coming in. I think I was writing about gray divorce, actually. And gray divorce is like divorce that happens after a guy and a woman have been together for my demographic. Like they've been their early to mid 50s. The kids they're now empty nesters. And they stayed together for the kids. And now they're looking across the table from, the breakfast table from each other and like, who the hell are you? Like, why did I do this? Why am I still putting up with this bullshit? Why am I still dealing with your crap? And it could be the most often it's probably the girl. Because I'll tell you the other thing about this as well is because of men's idealistic nature, men tend to remarry more than women do. Now, why is that? Well, women can't remarry. They can't remarry when they're done. Yeah, but women will still bang guys. Women will still go through that second hypergamy or that second epiphany phase that I talked about a couple episodes ago. Women still want that. Whether they can is whether they can remarry or not is up for speculation, I guess. Guys tend to remarry more than women do, even after a really evil, ugly divorce. Guys still want to get married. Why? Because they still want that. They think that there's security in that. They think that, and again, it's that beta male kind of serviceability thing. These are the guys who didn't learn from it. They're the pathetic guys, or the guys that didn't figure it out for themselves. So again, remember you have to detox, and you have to be on top of your game. You can't let yourself slide, particularly during that time. Now, the other thing is guys will say this: I can't stand the thought of her banging some other guy, Rollo. How do I get her out of my head? How do I do it? How does she go? How do I get her to out of my head? It's been a year and here she is. And if I see her, if I look her, I'm still stalking her on Facebook. How do I stop? Well, the reason why you're still doing that is because you're still in scarcity mode. You're still thinking like that's your sure thing. Stop thinking of her as your sure thing. Disconnect, delete her. And I mean delete in the most harsh sense that you could possibly do. And guys, they have a hard time doing that because I'm in a dry spell for a year. Yeah, because you just broke up with her. Of course you can't stop thinking about her. And it's made all the easier because of social media. So get off of that. Go monk mode. I don't usually advocate for monk mode, or if I do, I say monk mode's okay, but you have to be able to come back from monk mode. Most guys don't. The problem with monk mode, particularly after a bad breakup, is guys will get depressed, and monk mode will be it'll be the catalyst for them killing themselves because they get just too despondent. So if you go monk mode, fine, but have a plan to come back from monk mode. You have to make a plan. It has to be something that you're sticking. It has to be scheduled, right? For 3 months, I'm going to get back in the game. I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to go, do Gregorian chants in the woods somewhere. I don't care. Whatever you do, make sure that you have a plan to return. Because if you don't, you probably won't return, particularly if you're one of these like 44 to 65-year-old guys who are in that prime demographic. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go live in the hills somewhere or my mom's basement because my life sucks. I can't find a wife. Well, whose fault is that? You need to change your mind about yourself. You need to have a plan to come back from it. So that's another thing. Why you can't get her out of your head also is because of paternity issues, your evolved interest in your own paternity. When that woman is your sure thing, the thought of another man putting his dick inside of her and having children with her, or having her actually enjoy banging that guy in ways that she never wanted to have sex with you. Like, guys will tell me that all the time. I can't believe she turned into a different person. She will give this guy anal, and she'll jump on him, and she'll take off her, she went and got a personal trainer. She looks so much better now because of, it's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's because for whatever reason, you weren't the guy that said that triggered it didn't. You're not the guy who is the best that she can do. You're not the guy who doesn't care what she says. You're the guy who was Mr. Dutiful, Mr. On Time, Mr. Loyal, Mr. Relational Equity. You thought that was your insurance, and you got starfish sex for 12 years. And now she's turned into she's doing amateur porn with this guy. Because that's what she wants. She really wanted to be doing that. She just couldn't do it with you because you were either too timid or you were too beta or whatever. And now that's where she's at. So you really want some advice? Here's the advice. Use that to motivate you. Get in the gym. Become somebody. To become somebody else, you have to become somebody else. So most guys, when they see that, they just lose their minds because that woman represents their only shot at paternity. That woman, maybe they've already had kids, and now she takes the kids with them. And now they have all that relational equity. There's nothing that will convince you that relational equity is a myth than having that woman take your kids. They were never yours. Your 10-year-old little daughter, your 12-year-old boy, they're in another state, and you have to stay there, and you're paying for everything still too. And at the same time that you're paying for everything, that guy that she got with, or the guys that she's dating right now, remember the first thing that this kid in the closure asks is, how many guys did you get with since then? You know why he's saying that? Because that girl he probably has not dated anybody else. They didn't ask that, so I don't know for sure. But the reason he asks, the reason guys want to beat themselves up about that is because they can't get that out of their head. And why? Because you have an evolved jealousy response. You have a revulsion response. I really kind of like pair off jealousy and revulsion kind of in the same thing. I realize they're different, but I think they're kind of coming from the same root, let's just say. And so guys want to beat themselves up. Well, she was mine, and now she's not, and now she's reproducing with somebody else. Am I getting cuckolded? And in a sense, you kind of are, because if she does have a kid with the new guy, not only does she have your kids, she's having his kids, and you're paying for, not maybe indirectly, but by supporting your children, you're making her life better while she's getting railed by this guy and having his kids. That's a tough act. You want to know, and I'm going to end with this. You want to know what I'm talking about? You want to know why you're so obsessed and you're so pissed off? They made a movie about this. In fact, of all actors on planet Earth to play this role, Robin Williams. Go watch Mrs. Doubtfire. Mrs. Doubtfire in the early 90s, I think is when it came out. That is a horror movie. It is horror. When you look at that with a red pill lens, it is horrifying. It is. And it's supposed to be funny. Oh, he dressed up as a woman. Yeah, he had to, because his wife is banging Pierce Brosnan. I think that's who it was. Or the guy, the hot, cute guy. He was never going to be a success. I'm going to take his kids. I'm going to get with this guy over here. I'm going to do all these great things with him that I would never do with a guy that looks like Robin Williams. Well, what does the guy do? He actually becomes a woman, an old woman at that, right? Oh, I'm funny. I'm in drag like an old woman. Ha ha ha. The plot is what is the horror. And the reason why it's a horror is everything that I've just said is guys, why does she, imagine this. Imagine like Robin Williams or in Mrs. Doubtfire, whatever. Imagine that character being doing that or getting close because he's still stalking his wife. Not so much the kids. Like he dresses up and wants to be the nanny of the kids, but he's doing that really because he's also seeing what's going on with his ex. And guys will do that. They'll beat themselves up because of that jealousy instinct, because of that paternity instinct. That's the existential fear for men, which is to be cuckolded, to be with a woman who says your evolutionary or reproductive trade-off is this. I have sex with you. I give you all of this stuff. I am compromising my own innate mating strategy, which is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. I'm giving up that. I'm forsaking all others, right? That's a marriage vow. Forsaking all others so that I can focus on just you and this kid. They'll have one single request, that the kid is mine. And women can't even do that. They will not do that. We have laws that ensure that even if the kid is not yours, you're still paying for it. That's what I said about they said it was a hoax video. I don't know if it's a hoax or not, but that's the first thing I said. I said, you know what the sad part, the ironic part is that the guy who presumptively, wasn't the father of the 3-year-old girl, I said, yeah, he's probably still on the hook for child support too, and will be. And even if she goes back with the guy, he'll still be on because that's what a gynocentric legislation wants. That's what the gynocentric social order wants. It's all in the interest of the kids, right? No, it's in the interest of the woman. It's in the interest of her sexual mating strategy, which becomes her life strategy. So there you go. I'm going to go back through these right now, and I've missed quite a bit. Phil Henry says, for the emperor. Yes, thank you. Against all. Yes, suffer not the witch to live. Ben Jones says, can you touch on desiring behaviors and actions of an ex, though a new relationship has started, wanting the new girl to behave more like the ex? Okay, Ben, I've heard this before. Guys will say, well, I wish she was more like the girl I was with. And I talked about this with Rich yesterday too. The comedy skit or the segment, I guess, with Chris Rock. Chris Rock always says that, for women, when they've been in one relationship and they've reached a certain level of comfort or a relationship wealth, let's say, if the guy has made this amount of money, who drove this kind of car, then they can't get with a guy who has anything less than that guy. Because there's a mental thing that says, well, I am at least this SMV and I can get this. So you better be at least this, or else she's going to be thinking. What the joke was really a description or a detailing, a definition of the alpha widow. Chris Rock's 100% right. He just didn't know what he was talking about. He saw it. He sees the dynamic. He just doesn't know why it works the way it does. Well, yeah, women can't go back, or they don't want to go back in quality of living, let's say, or emotional impact. So they don't want to, they would much rather have that the next alpha that they meet has to be more intense, has to be a higher quality alpha than the guy that they were with. So if her first boyfriend was at 20 years old and he was super alpha, then when she's 22 or 25, the guy that she wants to be in some sort of monogamous relationship with, that guy better be at least the match of the guy that she was with when she was 20. And so that's what he talks about. Now, the other part of that joke is that men can't go back sexually. So if you're a guy, and you have, let's just say you've been spinning plates, or let's just say your average success. You have a notch count of 10. Let's just say a nice round number. And of those 10, and I'm going to get a little vulgar here. I'll try to put this as nicely as I can. You have, I'll try to be Andrew Dice Clay here. If you have 8 of those 10 were girls who would gobble the goo. Right, that's as nice as I can put it. And you get with number 11, and she doesn't do that. You would really like her to do that because that's what you're all about. But she just, yuck, it's body fluid. Oh, that's what your porn girls like. Right, whatever. Then you're right. Yeah, then you're really wanting that to happen. Now, here's the thing, Ben, is that when guys want that, they would, well, I had a girl who would do this. Why won't you do that? It's hard to breach that subject with her because it's you making comparisons. It's okay. It's always okay for a woman to compare you to another dude, but it's never okay for a guy to say, well, you know, last girl I had, she was more aggressive in bed and da, 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 da. God forbid you ever say that. You're probably pretty much done if that's the case. Because women don't want to be compared. They know you are, but they don't want to have that openly expressed to them. Like I said before, women say they want the truth, but they never want full disclosure. And that is a good example of full disclosure. So what do you do? Well, the medium is the message. What is she not doing that the other girls were doing? Okay, she's not doing this. Why? That's just how she is. She's uncomfortable doing it. Well, every other girl that I've been with, like, had genuine desire enough to do this sex act, to do this thing with me, or to do those things, to do these behaviors. Not, you didn't have to be sex, right? No, the other girls made me sandwiches. You don't make me sandwiches. So you need to understand what's the message. What's the medium telling you? Medium's probably telling you need to get with a different chick. That's what I would say. Chris Von Erich says, he is to you, Rollo, reproducing great content. Thanks for helping, guys. Or yeah, thank you. Chris always comes on and backs me up. Chris, I really need to go on your show again. Simple Fly, my psychologist friend, my legitimate clinical psychologist friend who I'm going to have on this show at some point, says, love your content, Rollo. Talk about the chemistry release from sex as it relates to attachment and necessity to detox. Keep up the good work. I think I did a little bit there, but I'll reiterate again. What throws guys off about this, and this is not so much a breakup thing as it is like what happens after sex. When a guy adopts the idea that he needs to be nice, that he needs to have full disclosure, right? That he's the guy, he has to lay everything out. He wants to have open communication, no secrets between us. We need to build trust. We need to build comfort. Right? This is where I kind of part ways with classic PUA, because PUA, there was a section there where I thought was really too overemphasizing comfort. When I talk about like the Iron Rule of Tomassi number 3, which is any woman that makes you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. Oh my God, he can't believe he said that. Well, here's why. Because when you are in that state, that is urgency. That is genuine desire. That's based on genuine desire. If a woman wants to have sex with you, she's going to find a way to have sex with you. And particularly in this day and age, she's not going to wait. Hypergamy cannot afford to bypass or to wait for a guy who represents optimal hypergamy. It can't wait for him. It can't put him on ice. She can't play the coquette with a guy who is the dude who represents the apex of hypergamy, the optimized hypergamy. He's the top of the heap. Do you think a woman is going to wait to have sex with that guy? No, she's going to have sex with him on the first night, even if she doesn't get off, even if she has to fake an orgasm. Because what she's trying to do is lock him down enough so that he'll come back for more. He'll come back for seconds. And then maybe she'll have a better experience. Like maybe I've done this myself, and I'm going to use myself as I'm the alpha here, right? I remember back in my rock star 20s, having sex with a girl. Like I've had sex with other girls back in the day when they were on the rag. That was Shark Week, right? I didn't know it at the time, but I've had same night lays in my past with women who were on Shark Week, right? And they were still so because they were in that stage, in that phase of ovulation, it stands to reason like, well, why would you want to do that? Why, if ovulatory shift works, if women are at their horniest when they are in the pre-ovulatory phases of their menstrual cycle, then why would she be so into having sex with you when it's Shark Week? Because hypergamy cannot afford to wait on an optimal situation or a potentially optimal situation with a guy. So if a girl that you meet and you have a same night lay with her and she's on the rag at that same time, she probably sees you as alpha and she wants to keep you around, have you come back again so that when she is in her ovulatory cycle, it's the same thing. It's almost like when I was saying primates. I said this last week. I think I said this on Rule 0. primate females will allow sexual access to beta males as long as those beta males provide some sort of resources or some sort of provisioning, or they provide a service. They pick nits off of them or give them a banana or watch the alpha's kids, right? Babysit. Human females will do that too. Hey, come over and watch my kids while I go and bang these guys over here, the outlaw bikers. They'll do the same thing, but they're still in they're not in estrus. They just grant sexual access to these guys because they need to get off, and or the beta male primates need to get off. Women will do exactly the same thing. That's transactional sex in a nutshell. But when that woman sees you as an alpha and you're not providing her anything, or you just met her at the club that night and she's on the rag, rather than her going, oh, it's not a good time right now, how about we get together next weekend? That's different than the woman going, I need to have sex with this guy right now. And that's the difference between those two. So that's part of that. The other part here that Simple Fly was talking about is that when you get to the comfort stage of like a seduction, or in PUA, they say, you need to emphasize comfort, because women want to have, like, the women will say this, and they've been saying this forever. They did when I was a teenager. They probably said it when in the 1950s, whatever. That women say, oh, well, I can't have sex with you until I'm comfortable with you. So let's spoon on the couch for a little while until I feel like you're somebody that I trust. That's bullshit. Okay? Simply bullshit, because sex is not about trust. It is not about comfort. It is about urgency. It is about anxiety. It is about tension. That's why they call it sexual tension. Arousal is a state of tension. It is not a state of comfort. So when you are amped up on testosterone, and she is a little bit too, when you have that state of arousal, but mutual arousal between you and her, the woman can't wait to have sex with you. If she's making you wait, there's a reason why. There's a reason why she's making you wait. And this is where I think the early pickup artists dropped the ball. They thought it was all about comfort. Well, you gotta really build comfort, rapport. Okay, I mean, you still have to be, you can't like come off like a serial killer, but anxiety is key to particularly hot, good, fun, validational sex rather than transactional sex. And as a result of that, so there's the chemical aspects of that as well. What happens afterwards is, the problem is that when you have an orgasm, when women certainly have an orgasm, that's when oxytocin floods her system. And you too, for a little bit, like not less or so for men. It's vasopressin for men. Oxytocin still plays a thing, but it's not as much. In fact, testosterone is a anti-catalyst, is antagonist of oxytocin. That's why men don't produce oxytocin as much. That's why our mating strategy is hit it and quit it. That's why for women, it's like, I need to build a bond, so that we have, so I survive the winter with this baby, and I need a man to protect me from saber-toothed tigers. So that's the biochemical aspect of it. So, but what happens is once that woman has an orgasm, then she goes into the oxytocin phase, which is comfort, nurturement, trust, what do they call it? The cuddle hormone. I want to sit here and spoon, okay. Like that's that part of it. The problem is that when there's other ways to release oxytocin, not so much with an orgasm, not as much as an orgasm. Like kinesthetics, like touching the girl and stuff like that, is another way to release good hormones, to release stress relief hormones. Oxytocin, like trust. Oh, he's touching me. Oh, it's good. My mom touched me way back in the day, or I can, like whatever it is. It's like that. It's the I should do an episode on Kino, right? It's the touching part of it. And so what happens is, and particularly the blue pill teaches men, young beta men, it teaches them that comfort and rapport is the way to sex. You got to be your friend first. You got to try. She has to get your trust. She has to be comfortable around you. She has to do all these things. You have to carry her books home. You have to be serviceable. You have to prove to her that she can trust you and she can love you and that she can be committed. You're going to be there for her when the chips are down, and you have to prove that you're going to be the perfect boyfriend. And meanwhile, she's going to go bang the bad boy biker. She's going to go, rock drummer McBand boy. I don't know what, I forget what the thing is, but women are going to go that hypergamy, right? Alpha seed, beta need. So you're focusing on beta need, which most women don't need or don't have or they perceptually don't think that they need that. But, and I'll end with this, is that oxytocin is a post-orgasm hormone. And that is the comfort hormone. So what you're doing is you're bypassing that. And most guys are so out of touch with how to stimulate women and how to, like, I don't say foreplay, but like they don't know how to arouse women. They don't know how to use game. They don't know how to stimulate women physically, mentally, verbally, kino wise. There's a lot that goes into a seduction. They don't know how to do that. In fact, most men are uncomfortable with that because they're afraid that they're going to get Me Too'd, or they're afraid, like they either they're afraid of it, or they're just so inept with it that they would rather it be true that they can be serviceable and nice and kind and caring and everything else. And you want to know why so many guys are addicted to OnlyFans, and they're addicted to their girlfriend, their online, virtual girlfriends that they pay small fortunes for. It's because they don't have to be adept at seduction. They're already in the comfort phase. That's what women on OnlyFans are selling, those chump betas who are paying them small fortunes. They're selling them the comfort phase. Oh, I love you too. What did I have to do for it? Well, you give me $4,000, but I'll be happy to play your pseudo wife or your girlfriend online until you get jealous of some other guy and get pissed off, and then go through the breakup process that I've spent the last 2 hours describing for you. You get off on that deception, you get off on that indignation, you get off on that, and you go, screw it, I'm deleting her, fuck her, I'm out, no more. I can't do this anymore. And then like a week later, you go and you find another girl and you start the process and the cycle all over again, and you pay all kinds of money, and she goes off to Aruba. and on her Instagram, she says, thanks, OnlyFans chumps. And you know what those OnlyFans chumps do? Self-flagellate. Oh, yeah, okay, I can't believe it. Oh, I'm glad she's having a good time. I'm a good guy. I gave her $4,000. That's what they're selling you. That's what OnlyFans sells chump beta male. And I feel comfortable in saying this, blue pill beta male guys who are just simply too uncomfortable to ever even consider learning game or learning seduction or even really accepting the fundamentals of women's nature or red pill awareness. They're happy where they're at. They're happy to do that. That's what they get off on. It's this cycle. They're junkies, man. They're junkies for dopamine, vasopressin, a little bit of oxytocin, the anger and the emotion and all of the stuff that, like we say, you're acting like a bitch. That's what they get off on. That's what they pay for. And they go through that cycle. They never had sex with this girl. They never met the girl face to face, and they go through the breakup. How do I get her back? You don't. You don't need to. You just delete her and you go find another one. And then here's your money. Here you go. Make it rain. And you start the whole thing over again until you get that indignation again. And then you're the rat with the pedal, with the lever, and nothing happens. And you just go and you repeat the cycle again. That's the ugly side of oxytocin. That's the ugly side of the endorphins. That's the ugly side of all of that, because you keep going back. I would say this. I'm gonna make a bold statement right now here at the end. Is that I think that OnlyFans, I think that these cam girls, I think that the Twitter whores that are out there right now, I think that the women who are using these guys for that process, that is going to be more addictive and more damaging and more endemic than pornography addictions in the future. Probably by 2030, cam girls and that live experience right there, like these are guys who would never even consider going to a strip club because there'd be too much face to face. It would be too much. There'd be too many guys like trying to at the same time. They want private access. They don't want other guys in the club going, here you go, baby, give me a lap dance. That's not satisfying. They want that connection because it's triggering those hormones. So when guys say, well, pornography is addicting because it tricks your brain or changes your brain. Yeah. Imagine what it does. Imagine what OnlyFans does to your brain, guys. Imagine what it does. Imagine that process over and over and over again. At some point, somebody's going to crack. I'm sure there's probably incidences of guys already doing that and killing themselves. And no, there's probably guys who committed suicide who've done that and they're hopeless. Was it 4 times the rate of women, right? They're just hopeless because they can't get back into that, and it's repeating that cycle, or they can't afford it anymore. Something happens. They can't get their drug. Ryan Allen says, when is your book in Spanish gonna come out? My friends need it ASAP. Spanish, I have a translation of it right now, actually. I have a Word document where it is. I need somebody to edit it at this point. And then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with it once book 4 is out. I would say this fall, maybe October, maybe November. If all goes well, I would very much like to have a Spanish version of it. That's the most requested translation. Christian Matico on Rich Cooper's Before the Train Wreck, you talked about, excuse me, chick crack. Do you think girls identifying as Wiccans, I think you mean Wiccans, plays into this? Because I see this often. Yes. I think, Christian, let's just agree to have you watch the show that I'm going to do, which is going to be on chick crack. I have a full section about that in book 4. I don't want to give away too much of it, but let's just say for sake of argument that because women prioritize emotion before reason, and I'm saying they're not unreasonable, they're all emotional, but I'm saying that their proclivity, their natural state is to prioritize emotion before reason. That predisposes women to be more spiritual. GL says, are women as promiscuous as men? No. But they are more promiscuous than you probably believe that they are. Even if I am in an LTR, I am constantly sexually attracted to other women. Are women like that also? They can be. And I would say more so in this society and in the post-internet age than at any other time. Women want sex. They want sexual, but they want sex on their terms, I should say. And remember that women's mating strategy is different than men's. So human beings are more promiscuous, that we are naturally promiscuous. We are monogamous by need, by necessity. We are monogamous, but we are by nature promiscuous. And you will see, I can prove this to you over and over and over again. For men, of course, it's polygyny. For women, now we're starting to see poly, and we're starting to see open relationships. Once again, when women are in 100% control of the reproductive process for human beings, and when we make our society based on gynocentrism, women tend to focus on the security side of hypergamy with legislation, with society, and once that's taken care of, what's left? Alpha fucks. That's what's left. So, yes, and I understand that. And do women want to have sex more? Are they promiscuous? Yeah, of course they are. We were just talking about that. They would rather have sex with a hot alpha, get knocked up, and have a good providing beta be the guy, the one who takes care of the kids or helps her. I need a man with benefits. Whenever I say that, that's what I mean. It's a beta male with benefits, the good provider. And when that happens, that's optimizing hypergamy. So, yes, they are more promiscuous than you think they are. Are they as sexual or are they as promiscuous as men? No, not by name. Until women can experience 12 to 17 times the amount of serum testosterone in their bloodstream that men have in theirs naturally every day, then they will never be as sexual as men. Never. Women's sexuality is cyclic. Men's is always on. So, let's see, count on 21. LOL, at what point is a girl's trip really harmless, or are all of them just doomed. Doomed. And how many times did you let your wife go over the years? My wife has never been on a GNO, and she has never been on a Vegas thing. I've never had her approach me and say, me and the girls want to go to Vegas for a weekend. Can we go? I've never in 24 years, just celebrated 24 years of marriage, have I ever had that conversation. She doesn't want to do that. In fact, if anything, I'm the one that tells her, hey, go hang out with your sister. I mean, literally her sisters, not like her girlfriends or anything like that. She has friends. She has friends from her. She's a friendly woman. She does, but she's not like, hey, I'm going to go out and hang out with the girls and we're going to go hit this club. It's more like, hey, we're going to go have like margaritas at Chili's and have appetizers, and I'm coming home at 7:30. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay. It's not like, it's not like, hey, we're going to go out dancing at Lex. Let's go. Yeah. No, doesn't happen that way. Well, so when is it cool? I'm not saying that you don't let a woman go have her friends. Sure. Friends is one thing. It's again, guys, you stop focusing on like, oh, what do you do when this happens? Don't focus on that. You ask yourself, why am I even having this conversation? What did I do? Where did I fuck up? What did I do that prompted her to want to go on a girls' night out? Why? Medium is the message. Go back and reread that 10 times. Tom Brokaw. So arousal and attraction are distinct. Yes. Existence of arousal is obvious, but has human civilization been around long enough for attraction to status resource to have evolved? The time frame is so short. Yes, I get that a lot of times. Guys will say, well, or I'll get the opposite of it. There's two ways to look at this, Tom, and I have dealt with both of them. The first one is like, well, it's all about arousal. It's only about the biological aspects because societies have changed and blah blah blah. It's almost like Evo Psych versus social constructionism. So this is a good question. So that's the first side of it. Is it biological determinism versus social constructionism? That's the first side. Or is it vice versa? So like social constructionists will give me the same like argument, but reversed. So they'll be like, well, it's a society teaches men that they're supposed to like these skinny, swimsuit models. That's not really true. That's just them being brainwashed. They're being gaslit from the time they were little kids to really want a Playboy centerfold. No, they want the hot girl with the hourglass figure because there are evolutionary body standards, right? Or standards for beauty that are multicultural, worldwide, global, blah, blah, blah. So what I always said is it's both, right? So yeah, I mean, status is a big deal. It's always been a big deal. It's been like the chief man, the dynastic rulers of China, like emperors, right? The chief, the guys who have provisioning, the guys who have respect, the guys who have physical prowess, the guys who are the leaders. We don't call them the same thing. We just have like different parallels for them, I think, in this society. They functionally, evolutionarily, from the hindbrain perspective, they serve the same purpose. That's why when women go and they get a new raise or they get into a new position, they get a promotion at work, and their husband, who was making more money than they are, now suddenly he's making less. She has less attraction and less arousal for that guy who previously was probably a really good catch for her, but now she has to be deferent to guys at work who have her as not necessarily as their peers so much, but she has to work with guys who are far more powerful than the guy she comes home to, who is, changing the diapers, or the guy who used to be, or maybe he's still working. Maybe it's just a two income family, but he's just working as something that's not anywhere near the guys that she's seeing all the time. Well, maybe he still looks good, but she's attracted to these other guys because of that status. So attraction, remember, when I talk about arousal and attraction, the important things to remember is that arousal is the alpha seed side of the equation. Attraction is the beta need side. So arousal is short-term sex. It is biological. It is breeding potential. It is genetic. Whereas for the out beta need side, the attraction side. Well, this is what most women will say. When you ask them, well, what is it that women want? They will always rattle off all of these things that they're attracted to, not what they're aroused by. Zeno says, when are you going to do live call in sessions? I could actually do that. I could do it now because I have the Rodecaster Pro board here. And here's what I would have to do. I'd have to get another cell phone. I would have to get a dedicated line and a dedicated number. I might do it. You want it? Do you guys really want live call in? I can actually do it. The problem I have is I do this solo. I don't have a producer. I don't have a girlfriend. My wife's not the one screening calls. I can't screen calls. I just have to go, okay, you're next. Or I could do Blog Talk Radio. That's another way I could do it. Do you really want me to do that? I could do it. It's just like, it's like playing bass, guitar, and drums all at the same time and still being able to sing. So I could do it. You want it? Really want it? Okay. Christian Matico again says working legs raises testosterone. This is proven. Thank God, because I spent a lot of time in the rack. I do not skip leg day. And we are down at the end of the show, so I can screw around. Bill Smith says, can you help me with getting through my attachment trauma or codependency at 52 years old, leaving a LTR 25 years? God. I read your book, but still have debilitating fear of leaving a not that bad dead roommate marriage of convenience. Well, time for another bold statement. Bill, I feel for you. You are in a prime demographic. Most guys will stay in your situation. I hate to say this, but they will. Because they don't believe that they can be anything more. Particularly, you're my age, 52. You're a Gen Xer. I know what you've gone through. You probably know what I've gone through. So where are you in your head is the real point. Bill, you know what? And I'm getting really low on time. I got to get through the rest of these. Bill, hit me up an email. Go to, where's my banners? Do I have my banner up here? Where is it? You can get me at... you should probably hit the like button. That's funny. I'll give you the email. The email's in the description anyways. It's just rationalmale@gmail.com. Hit me up on email. I'll be happy to help you. We'll talk. It's easier just to do it that way. I can go on, but it's not good radio. James P says, superb video today. Lots of passion. Keep on saving lives. I will. Thank you. Keep rocking. We will. What if you're, Rocksire. That's a good name. What if you're stuck on a high narcissist woman? Where did you hear that? Where did you hear the term high narcissist? Woman who leaves and comes back and leaves again, who's dark triad and your red pill. One word for your $5 super chat. Next. That's what you get. That's what you do. You leave. You're done. You're out. Okay. Narcissism as a clinical designation or as a diagnosis, leave that up to the pros. Don't say, oh, she's high narcissism. Well, what's the low narcissist look like? You don't know. I'm the first one who would say, I gave you caveats right at the beginning of this show. I said, hey, you know what? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an endocrinologist, but I will say this. I know pop psychology when I see it. Don't give me love language. Oh, what's your love language? No, that's pop psychology. High narcissist, low narcissist. No, all women are solipsists, and that might be part of it. If a woman is if you think she's narcissistic, look at the behavior again. Don't listen to what she says. Watch what she does. Oh, she's coming and going. Well, clearly she has no real attachment to you, a healthy attachment, an emotional attachment. Is that what do you want to end up like Bill Smith at 52 years old with that chick? No, you don't. Better to just go. Next. It's not that hard. Next. You know why it's not hard? Because you're supposed to be spinning plates. Because you're supposed to have an abundance mindset. That's why it shouldn't be hard. It's hard for you. Oh, how do I deal with this? You don't. Get the hell out. I'm going to talk like, it's like, don't stop being a bitch. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say this. Pragmatically, get out. It's the easiest way. Like it's better. I went over this. Was it Rule of Tomassi number 7? It's better to create a new relationship. It's better to focus or work on potential relationships than it is to try to repair a damaged or dead one. And if that's what you're telling me, then next. Preemptive next. Video Tampa, thank you for the $20. Says, my ex left me after taking SSRIs for depression. Yes, that will mess up the endocrinology for sure. Her oxytocin and vasopressin shut down. Yes. She's no longer suicidal, but that's a hard pill to swallow. Chemicals matter. Yes. Thank you again for your insight. This is a good episode. This episode is gold. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it very, very much. Yes. Another thing guys will say is, what about hormonal birth control? Yes, that will mess up a girl. Guys usually ask me that when they say, well, what about ovulatory shift and hormonal birth control? It's ovulatory shift still happens. It just happens. It depresses that process. Process is still happening. It's just not as intense as it would be if she was not on hormonal birth control. Same thing is true for SSRIs, antidepressants. Antidepressants, to my knowledge anyways, SSRIs inhibit your ability to feel. Now, what do women prioritize before anything else? Emotion. So that's kind of rough on a woman, particularly when her brain is wired to feel. Again, I don't know. I'm not women. They for all of the suicide statistics for men, for women, the statistics are prescription antidepressants. If you're meeting a girl who's on on SSRIs, it's best to avoid them. Simply that. And it's just pragmatism. It's not because I want to say, oh, they're horrible, they're mean. No, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying, look. You don't need that. You're not their savior. You can't save them. So just don't. It's funny. It's like when I say that, women will be like, they'll get the same indignation rush as when I say, don't go for single mothers. There's something wrong. How could there ever be something wrong with a woman? Well, she's on SSRIs. She's crazy. She's BPD. She is hooked on heroin. Oh, she just needs somebody to be there for her. Yeah, not me. Aaron Caprio says, you are very wise, Rollo. Thank you for all your wisdom. You are welcome to my wisdom. Rocksire, again, who has the cool name, dealing with a high narcissist. How do you deal with a dark triad woman who dumps you, comes back for sex like nothing happened, and then leaves again? You plate her. You don't catch feelings for her if you even want to deal with that. The chick is if you have a girl, I got to do an episode on friends with benefits, on fuck buddies, right? I'm at the end. I can say that. I need to talk about that because there's some interesting things to sort of suss out and all that. And I'm going almost 3 hours, so I got to get going. I would say simply this: either next her or plate her. Those are your only two options. Pelos 377. Rollo, I started reading your book to better myself. Good. Because I thought there was something wrong with me. Your book helped me get through her cheating. Good. Thank you. Hopefully you got through her cheating and you've built something else in the aftermath. Show me what you did. Show me your work. Show me how you worked this problem out. Michael Kerr says, Imperator Tomassi. Yes. I am the Padishah Tomassi. The space will also require your assistance on the Battle of Chadia and the Dude Bro system in the hypergamy sector. Answer the call. I would love to. You know, it's funny. I should do an army. I've actually thought about doing a war, like an IG army of nothing but like big stacked women and stuff, because like 40K right now is becoming so woke and so anti, man. And we want to have female IG and female space Marines because that's that would be fair. And that's, so let's retcon all of, let's see, 35, 40 years of IP so that woke snowflakes can feel better about their game. I would really love to go and get some off-brand models and just like have some like big booby girls like as Marines and run it at like tournaments just to piss people off. I don't even care if I won. Oh man, VWAP Trader says masks don't protect any virus. This is a plandemic. Yeah, I tend to agree to an extent. That's that. These are the last ones. Don't give me any more because I got to finish. Fenderman says using dating apps or hookers to move on. Yes or no? No to dating apps because you need to go into monk mode, I would say, because dating apps will only get you back into that cycle again. Dating apps are based on the same psychological principles as video poker machines or video slot machines. I know because I used to develop those things. Or I used to help develop them anyways. But, or I shouldn't say that. I used to help sell those things in the development of them. So anyways, the idea is this, and so all social media is based on this, is keep you scrolling. What's going to happen next? You want to know you don't know why dopamine is such a big deal for like Twitter and Facebook and IG and all this other stuff or dating apps? Oh, I'm going to scroll again. Oh, what's next? What's next? Every time it's what's next is, oh, I hope this pull of the slot machine will be a jackpot. That's dopamine. But hookers, I get myself into trouble here. I would only advise guys go see a prostitute if they are at like the end of their rope, right? If you are an incel, you're not there. I should say that there's no such thing as an incel. You can get laid. If you have $100, hell, if you have $500, you can fly here to Reno. I can teach you like brothel game. I will guarantee you 100% that you will cure your virginity here in Nevada, in Mound House at the Mustang Ranch or Bunny Ranch or wherever it is. I guarantee you 100% with 100% of surety, you will go home a non-virgin. And all it'll cost you $500. I'm going to keep about 400 of it, but that's my finder's fee. That's a fee for me driving you out to the cat houses. That's what it would be. I only would advise that if you are at your wit's end. I would say this, going to a prostitute would be a better choice than getting addicted to an OnlyFans cam whore. There you go. George's 8 says, hi, Rollo. Have you done a show on men using the Me Too as a buffer? I wonder where you think the fine line exists since woke chicks are a no-no. Every chick is a woke chick. Every girl you know, any girl that you would consider having sex with or dating or having a relationship right now is a feminist. And if they are not identifying as a feminist, if they're not identifying as a wokey, that at some point in their education, at some point in their upbringing, at some point in their acculturation and socialization, they have encountered the influence of feminist ideology. They might say, well, I'm an anti-feminist, or I'm Lauren Chen, or I'm whoever, whatever. You know, the girl that you think is the MAGA hat wearing girl is like, yeah, I'm a MAGA girl. I'm not a feminist. No, they are. They just, contextually, they just use the same ideology within their conservative belief set. So should you use Me Too as a buffer? Or have you done a show on men using Me Too as a buffer? The only buffer I see men using Me Too as is an excuse not to approach. Is an excuse not to actually take risks. And I think maybe I really need to do a show about risk tolerance for guys. So I'll consider that. No, I've never done a show about that, but I get you. I feel you, man. Last one. Oh, no, not the last one. Damn it. Guys, stop. I don't want your money anymore. Rollo saved me from a disease that I didn't even know I had. It's one-itis. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is a disease. It's a disease of the mind. You know who's got a really good book coming out that I really, well, besides me, is Dr. Godsad, G-A-D, not G-O-D. Gadsad. That's Gadsad. Oh, is that it? I think that is the last one. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, this one. Women Empowering Women Movement Instagram. What are your thoughts? That is the Sisterhood Uber Alice. And you're going to see more of that. Oh, I promised to and here I am at the end. I promised to say this because somebody asked me this on Twitter. They said, what do you mean by the pink out? This is what I mean by the pink out. Pink out is this. A pink out is going to be, I'm just using it as a euphemism. I probably should have chose a different hashtag. Pink out is there. I predicted that, and this was back in June, that sometime between now and the November elections in the United States, you are going to see a worldwide push for a women's march, a female empowerment march. And I would say it's going to be worldwide. And I will tell you what's going to probably, I can even give you the day. I think I could be wrong. I'm not usually wrong. I could be. But I'm seeing a lot of buildup to this right now. So when I say pink out, this is what I mean, is that at some stage, you're going to see these demonstrations similar to the Black Lives Matter thing that's going on, similar to the social and civil unrest that's going on. And it's going to be the pink hat pussy brigade, the pink pussy hat brigade. It's going to be those guys. It's going to be that element. And it will probably happen on August 18th. Because August 18th is the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which was to give women the right to vote. We're already seeing this. That's why you're seeing things like the empowering women thing on Instagram. That's why you're seeing this amplification of men being accused of sexual harassment more. That's why you're starting to see UN women saying, well, COVID affects women more than it does men. You're going to constantly see, well, it's already been started for a long time ago, but they've been building on this so that you're ready and you're primed for it for the next crisis. And the next crisis is going to be the pink out. At least this is what I'm predicting anyways. And I don't think that we're going to get to a point where Donald J. Trump, is that his middle name? I don't think Donald Trump is going to get to November without women having some screeching outrage, festival, march, worldwide demonstrations. Guarantee it. Some way, shape, or form that's going to happen. And so things like the Instagram thing that you're looking at. Also, I saw this story, and I think Rugby sent me this as well, is that Mackenzie Bezos, formerly the previous wife of Jeff Bezos, has donated something like $1.7 billion of the money she generated in the divorce that made her the 5th richest woman in the world to female feminist causes, feminist colleges, female empowerment. So that's also part of that. That's what I mean by the pink out. And yes, this whole thing with the Instagram is too. Noticed is that women here want to be smart enough to be interesting, but not too smart to figure out their games. And after red pill, I'm unable to turn off the smarts. Yeah. Once you put the red pill lens on, Muhammad, you are not going to take them off. Go with it. Learn from it. Use it. Learn it. Live it. Rollo said, Alex? Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Oh, there it is. Sorry. That's the one. Gosh, why are these like throwing me around? Save me from a disease. I got that already. Christopher Holland, last one, says Women Empowering Women Movement. Okay, I got that. Okay, so we're done. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me for 3 hours. Don't expect this episode to have any of the very first hour on it because I'm sure it'll get chopped up. If you want to watch this episode in its entirety, I'm going to recompile it because I probably will have to. Then you'll be able to see the first part of this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will be hosting Rule 0 on Saturday. That's my next appearance. I will have more information about the Rule 0 live event that is going on in October 2nd through the 4th, and that will be in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm still debating. We might have another speaker added to the list. I'm not sure just yet. We're going to see. There might be a 10th. We have 9. We might have 10. We'll see. But this is going to be great. You guys are going to, I'm actually very much looking forward to this. I was in Vegas last week and I was hunting down good venues. I've narrowed it down to 2. And I'm probably going to make that decision with the boys this weekend. So more of that will be coming. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, that's it right there. These are all the dudes. Myself, Rich Cooper, Ryan Stone, our good friend John from MLD, got Troy Francis. I have Sterling Cooper. I have John Sanmez. I have a big cigar smoking Captain Cappy. Just call him Cappy. Now that's Aaron Clary, and we also have John Fitch. So we will be, like I said, there in Vegas on the 2nd through the 4th. All things going swimmingly. That is the plan. If you already hold tickets, you get 2 days instead of 1, like we were going to do. Tickets right now are $9.99, and I doubt they will go any. We're going to probably sell out, so we're not going to go probably any higher than that. If you want to buy tickets now, you have to talk to these guys. You have to talk to all the guys in the bottom row here. Sterling, John Sanmez, Aaron Clary, and John Fitch. We're trying to get them caught up. Because for the most part, us guys of the Rule Zero crew have sold a good substantial amount of tickets, and we want to give them a shot at it. Once these guys have reached their tally, then we'll probably all be selling at the same time. So there you go. And that is it for me today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped you out. Last but not least, if you have watched this and you are feeling suicidal, if you are at a desperate place, if you're in a bad place right now, please talk to somebody. Talk to a dude. Talk to preferably somebody who's red pill aware and understands what you're going through. Email me. Email your friends. Reach out to somebody if that's where you're at. Try not to reach out to women in this case, because they're probably going to give you pretty bad advice. Nobody cares about your problems as a man. So it's really difficult. I think most guys really realize that. Nobody really cares. Nobody really gives a rat's ass about them. Because remember, men must become. It's all our burden of performance. And so for the most part, naturally, innately, we don't want to ask for help. But do so in this case. In some cases, that's good. Be stoic. Don't ask for help. Do your own thing. Get your shit done. Figure it out yourself, right? But if you're having suicidal thoughts, please reach out to somebody. Your brother, your father, your best friend, whoever. Reach out to another dude. Okay. Good. All right. I will see you guys on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time on this Bat channel. Please subscribe. Please, if you wish to donate to this show, all of the links are in the description. I will see you later. Bye, guys.